like to call this meeting of the Colerain Township Board of Trustees to order. Heather, if you would take a roll call.
Mr. Inslee?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
I'm here. Next item, executive session. Mr. Mills?
Yes, sir. Recommend that the board move to go into executive session in accordance with Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G8 to consider confidential information relating to specific business strategy and to discuss negotiations with other political subdivisions respecting requests for economic development assistance, and also in accordance with Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G1 to discuss employment and compensation of public employees.
I'll make the motion.
And also,
Hold on a second.
in accordance with Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G3 to discuss pending or imminent litigation with the township attorney.
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
That's G3.
Yep.
And Greg has motioned, and I will second. It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Heather, please call for a vote.
I'm sorry, Mr. Insco, you offered the second?
Yes. Well, the first.
He motioned and I seconded.
Great. Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye. We will dismiss to executive session and we'll return hopefully just a little bit before 7 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting of the Colerain Township Board of Trustees back to order. Heather, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Here. Would you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd ask you to remain standing. I don't see anybody in this room that doesn't remember what went on 17 years ago today. So I'd ask you to take a moment of silent prayer for all the people that died that day and for the 7,000 or so of our great, wonderful military who've given their lives defending our country since. So I'd ask that you just take a moment of silence for that. And may God rest their souls. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is the fiscal officer.
I'd like to ask for the board's approval of the August 28th, 2018 minutes.
I'll make the motion.
I second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Heather, please call for a vote.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye. Our next item, Mr. Mills.
Thank you, Mr. Unger. Board of Trustees, we have two presentations tonight, and the first one is from HCDC. It's a presentation on economic development that will be given by Harry Blanton, who is their Vice President, and Catherine Fitzgerald, who is their Senior Director.
Welcome. We're glad you're here.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much, trustees and Mr. Mills and all folks in the audience. Excuse me there.
You break it, you buy it.
A little angle there on the podium. Thank you. So my name is Harry Blanton. This is Catherine Fitzgerald. We are employees of HCDC. HCDC stands for Hamilton County Development Company. We are the Economic Development Office for Hamilton County, but we're also a nonprofit. And we're not just here for Hamilton County. We're here for all the communities in Hamilton County and all the businesses of Hamilton County. So we're here to help Colerain Township as well. We are an entity with three different divisions. The very first division is our department, which is the Economic Development Office for Hamilton County. But we're also a small business lender. As you can see up here in the diagram, we've been doing lending now for 35 years. We do small business loans, so any businesses in Colerain that might need some financing, we have subsidized loans that will help them give a low interest rate and help them with their investments. And then finally, we have an entrepreneurial assistance program that is located in Norwood through an incubator, but we also, if you're a small entrepreneurial business in Colerain Township, we also have some programs to help with startups, and we'll talk about those as well. Go to the next one. In 2017, we worked on projects that created over 1,200 jobs and $81 million of investment in Hamilton County. Historically, we've worked with companies that have invested over $3.7 billion and created over 54,000 jobs in Hamilton County. Our business lending arm, as I said, we've been around for a long time. We're the #1 certified development company in Ohio. A certified development company is an entity that is certified by the SBA to do loans through their programs. And through those programs, we've done over $1 billion in loans and created over 10,000 jobs through those loans. Our business incubator is rated the #1 incubator in Ohio. We have approximately 67 companies that work out of the incubator. 52 of those are incubation clients, which means they actually have an office or some kind of a space that they rent. And then we have 15 CoWorks clients, which are companies that don't have the money to maybe have a lot of space, but they come in and they just rent out a desk, and they bring in their laptop, and they have a address and a mailbox and assistance from our business coaches. In terms of all the different services that we provide, these are the kind of things that your businesses and your residents would probably be interested in. We help reduce business costs through incentives and financing programs, as I mentioned, the loan programs. We keep a database of available commercial buildings and properties. So if you have a business in Colerain looking to relocate, we'll try to keep them in Colerain and try to find them a new building. We provide grants and loans through an economic development program through the county's CDBG program, or Community Development Block Grants. So if any business in Colerain is looking to expand, they can apply for these funds through the county. We deliver expert consulting to communities like Colerain on redevelopment projects, how to revitalize business districts, and how to renovate commercial industrial sites. We can also connect companies who need workforce assistance. One of the biggest problems that we find in today's world with businesses who are growing is to find the talent and the workforce that they need. So we can provide them grants to help train the workers for the jobs that they are providing. We also do what we call business retention and expansion. So we'll meet with all the businesses in the county to find out what their issues are, pass along those issues to trustees or county commissioners so that you're aware of what issues businesses are facing. But we also make sure that they're aware of all the programs that we offer to help them expand. And then we also do coaching of small businesses. And finally, I mentioned the entrepreneurial support. So not just the incubator, but these two programs called eKickstart and Morning Mentoring. So if an entrepreneurial company in Colerain is looking for assistance and guidance from experts and consultants who can guide them through that startup process and how they grow their business, we can provide that consulting for them. I just thought I'd give people a shot of what's going on in the current economy. A lot of you probably know these things, but in July 2018, the unemployment rate in the county was 4.5%. That favored well with the state of Ohio, a little bit above the nation. We're an urban county, so I think that sometimes, we will have a little bit of a higher unemployment rate. If you can go to the next one. Our vacancy rate and office vacancy is a little bit high. And again, as I mentioned, urban counties, we have some older buildings that are harder to fill up with businesses. We have about a 20.1% vacancy rate in the region. That is actually about 1.3% less than last year, so we are starting to fill up some of those office buildings. The industrial rate is a vacancy rate of 3%, which is historically low. And I think that we're going to start to see some more speculative industrial buildings being manufactured in the area. And then our retail rate is 8.5% compared to a 6.6%. And all three of those, the office, the industrial, and the retail rates, are lower than they were last year, so we're getting better. These are just some of the big projects that we've worked on over the past 5 years. I'm sure you're familiar with a lot of those companies. We worked with GE Global Operations Center when they when GE created their new operations center down on the banks. We worked with CDK Global, which is a company a lot of people have never heard of, but they work with the auto industry, and they brought 1,000 new jobs to Hamilton County. Paycor, which is a payroll company, just agreed to expand and add 700 jobs, so there are already 1,000 jobs. And then Ford Motor Company invested over $900 million to retain 1,600 jobs. GE Aviation, another big investment with 7,000 jobs. And then JTM, a little closer to home, just made a huge investment in their local operations and expanded and created new jobs. And they have almost 450 jobs, so those are some bigger projects. Some of the new things that we're doing, and I'm going to turn it over to Catherine to talk a little bit more about Colerain. We have a new Office of Innovation, and the Office of Innovation focuses on what they call second stage businesses. So after your entrepreneurial stage, a lot of businesses are growing fast and they're small, And they're growing so fast, they don't have a lot of time to work on the strategy of their business because they're trying to fill orders and they're trying to hire people and they're really busy. So we have a new Office of Innovation to help those companies find new markets and find ways to expand their sales. We have a lot of data that they can access and coaching. The other thing, we have a workshop coming up October 4th at Union Hall down and over the Rhine. It's an innovation workshop for businesses who are interested in how to innovate. And finally, we have a new president. Her name is Peg Myrtle. She has a very deep background in economic development and community development and banking, so we're very happy to have her on board. And I'll turn it over to Catherine, and then we'll answer any questions at the end. Thank you.
Thanks, Harry. We just made a list here of some of the recent and not so recent projects that HCDC has assisted with. A couple that I'll highlight. One is Northgate Mall, establishing a tax incentive district essentially for some of the tenants that were harder to attract. Secondly, Skaten Place with the loan there and the big expansion that they did. Go ahead. As far as the permits issued, Colerain Township looks very good. 2016 and 2017 were very good years, and then we believe that the township is on pace for 2018 with 491 permits to date in 2018. One of the things we do, and Harry touched upon, was we do work quite a bit with a Business Retention and Expansion Council. We work with the local jurisdictions in Hamilton County to basically coordinate that effort. Most job creation and investment occurs with existing businesses. A lot of people think that the big attraction projects are the projects that create a lot of jobs and investment. In fact, most job creation occurs with existing businesses. So we coordinate that effort with a Business Retention and Expansion Council. Go ahead. There's several reasons for us to do that, and it's been very successful. I think the folks at Colerain Township attend regularly. It's for coordination, number one. Number two, we track everything through Salesforce. Any community that doesn't have access to Salesforce, we will input that for them. It's increased business meetings because we know that one-on-one contact with business is very important. We do report to elected officials and hopefully try to address the business concerns that are wider than what we can address. And that also contributes to policy decisions. Make businesses aware of programs like we're talking about tonight to help keep them here. And then, is that the... Yeah, and I'm sorry, the goals for the council. Looks like we might have gone one back. Yeah, that's it. No, we already did that one. Sorry. There we go. Thank you. That's it. That's it. My mistake. So basically, some of our goals are to try to reduce property taxes through property tax incentives, financing for projects, workforce development. We also have a database of available properties in Hamilton County. Although there are realtors out obviously representing properties, we don't try to replace that. But sometimes businesses want to start with us and just kind of get a confidential list of available properties. And then we also act as county liaison if there's a permitting or some sort of issue that a business needs help with. I just wanted to touch base with a newly formed program that Harry also did mention briefly, the Hamilton County Community and Economic Development Assistance Program. Hamilton County and the Hamilton County Commissioners do think economic development in Hamilton County is very important, so they've allocated a portion of their CDBG federal block grant dollars for economic development. This is the second year that the program has been running. We help along with Hamilton County Planning, and it's gone very well. The interest has been very good. There are federal requirements in terms of low, moderate income and removal of slum and blight. And I should say that for 2018, the allocation is a little bit under $700,000. Thank you very much. Any questions?
I got a comment. 13 years ago, I had nothing, but you guys, HCDC, helped me to start the business right in Colerain Township. Today, it's a very successful business. I want to thank you. When I came to approach you at that time, you gave me a lot of guidance, and it's amazing how you help people to build a business. That's the reason then I ask you to come to make a presentation. There are many people in our township they want to do the business, but they don't know where to go, how to go, and who to approach. And you guys are there, and it was a great presentation. Our administrator, Jeff, is working closely with you guys, and it's a great inspiration for us.
Thank you. We always enjoy working with the township.
And I think some of the value is you're probably more aware of the moving parts with businesses coming and going, and I'd suggest, just like I guess Raj did with his startup, that that's some value in contacting you as you kind of know what's coming and going.
Absolutely. Please feel free to refer businesses to us. We'll do our very best to help
See,
them.
your contact information's up there, so it will appear in our minutes. So
I would just be remiss if I didn't say we really enjoy working with the township officials here. You have a very professional staff, and you got a really good guy from the county, and Jeff Weckbach as well. But we really enjoy working with both Jeffs.
We needed that reaffirmation. Thank you.
Also, I want one more comment. You got a great team now. Peggy, she's involved in the community, came from the PNC Bank as a senior vice president. She got a lot of financial experience, also community involvement. And then yourself, both of you, great passion for the community. I appreciate you guys coming over to give us a presentation.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the invite.
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you very much. Our next item is Mr. Mills.
Very good. The next item is a pretty special one. We're not going to see this very often, and so I'm going to turn it over to Chief Cook for a presentation on years of service recognition.
Good evening, Board. This evening, I'd like to recognize the Department of Fire and EMS's longest-serving employee. Roger Sauerwein, will you please come up to the front? On September the 1st, Roger Sauerwein achieved 45 years of service with the department and to the community. Roger began his career at a time when the department was primarily staffed with volunteer firefighters. Currently, Roger represents the department at our Northgate Mall station, where he and his wife Patricia, who is a 27-year veteran of the department as well, provides public education and wellness checks to approximately 500 citizens and visitors per month at the station. Roger, it is with great pride that I present you with this award as a celebration of your special service anniversary. On behalf of the Department of Fire and EMS, the township's elected officials, administrative staff, and the citizens, thank you for your many years of service, and may this award remind you of our commitment to you as a valued employee.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Mr. Sauerwein. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing, and it will be momentarily presented by Director General Accounts.
Is that the order we're doing this in?
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. We got citizens' address before that. Sorry.
Okay, great.
Wait a minute, what am I doing?
You sure? we don't have to.
Getting ahead of myself. Sorry.
That's fine.
We're not worthy.
Right. No.
I just want to, there's some folks that were here with Roger. We'll let them leave for a moment.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Okay, so tonight we have 15 requests to speak. As you know, we do not limit anybody's
Nobody signed in.
speaking. Okay, I'll bring this up when we get to that. We do not limit anybody speaking, but I'm asking you to be courteous to your fellow citizens that are here. And if everybody keeps it around 4 minutes, we'll get it in an hour. You know, some folks come here regularly, some folks don't. But please be kind to your neighbors and friends, and try to keep it around 4 minutes. And we'll just go ahead and do these now and take questions at the end of the meeting on tonight's agenda. So I'll go ahead and call on Brenda Ritchie. It looks like she signed in at 6:30. Hello, Brenda.
How you doing? I know that answer. I know.
Actually, I can hit upon something that the HCDC just mentioned. Removal of slum. I lived in Green Township from 1996 to 2016. In those 20 years, I had to call the police maybe 3 times. I've been in Colerain Township 2.5 years. Once a month, I either have to call the fire department, police department, code enforcement agency, all for one house on my street of 9 homes. 9 homes on my street. One house. They had a refrigerator in their driveway for 3 weeks with the doors on it. I called the police department. They said they couldn't do anything about it. Called the fire department. They said they couldn't do anything about it. Code enforcement couldn't do anything about it. 40 years ago, I had a friend whose son died inside of a refrigerator, left in somebody's driveway with the doors on when he was playing hide and seek. But nobody done anything about the refrigerator next door to me sitting in a driveway 3 weeks. And there's a child that lives there, along with other children that visit there. This house is completely surrounded by junk. We have a wash machine, tires, car ramps, bicycles, chairs, ladders, a mattress, garbage, planters, power wheels, etc., etc. All along the porch, side yard, backyard, back deck. I have sent pictures to 2 of the trustees. I've also posted them on Colerain Talks on Facebook. I keep hearing this is a long process. I would like to know exactly how long.
Is this on the street that you have listed here on your
Sure
address? I will, as I like to do, I will drive by and have a look at
That
it
was
next.
going to be my next question. Both you and Raj mentioned that you go out on these weekend drives.
I don't know that I've seen this one yet, though. And I go every day because
Okay,
my
this
kids
is
are moved
off
out.
of Chesswood.
Yeah.
There are
Got it.
6 side streets. And I might suggest you also hit Cog Hill. Well, there's a lady on Cog Hill who hasn't had Rumpke come to her home for over 2 months. So the entire house is filled with garbage all around her house. That video is also on Facebook. Colerain Talks.
Got it.
If I was a betting woman, I can guarantee you anybody seated right here would not be living next door to what I've been living next door to. I myself took a drive. I'll tell you where I went. I went down, let's see, Castlestone, Applegate, Lake Hills, Springleaf, Ravens Ridge, Saddle Ridge, Brockton, Oak Meadow, Ash Hollow, and I did not see anything like what's next door to me. Nothing. So, would you like this person to come live on your street?
I grew up right behind you, so I know exactly where you're talking about. And I saw the pictures; they were awful. I forwarded them to our department heads, and I'm waiting for a response. So, like I had told you online, there's strength in numbers. Obviously, make sure you're networking with your neighbors and
We have 9
I know. But being vigilant, coming here and making everyone aware, essentially one trustee is kind of useless. It takes two to make anything happen. But we do have, strict code enforcement and zoning, and for a reason. And it is a long, slow process. But at the same time, we are held to, a certain statute, and that's what we can follow. So without putting Jen on the spot right now, do you know which property we're talking about by chance? No? Okay. So
3413 Lumberwheel Court. Board of Health also knows because I've reported the rats over there too.
real quick, just because she brought it up and I thought it was interesting, do we have a zoning code against exterior refrigerators? I mean, I guess, okay. If there is such a thing.
Okay. Message received. Thank you.
So that's been submitted to Hamilton County Housing Court.
Oh, good.
So we're good.
Speaking of which, it went to Hamilton County Housing Court. The owner, who lives in Mainville, Ohio, did not show up. So I have a question for the chief. Will the police of Mainville go physically arrest her since she did not show up in court?
They won't, because they will extradite. We're not able to extradite all the work.
Okay. How does she get arrested?
She'll have to come back to the county.
And when she gets arrested, will you physically arrest her or will she be issued a capias? Okay, so she already has a capias for not showing up in court. So she will be basically recited. So how many times is she allowed to get recited? Physically removed. Okay, out of the 9 houses on this street, the people who have lived there anywhere from 3 to 48 years. In July, a 16-year resident and a 20-year resident both moved out because they couldn't deal with it anymore. Now we have an 85-year-old man on the street. When he dies, that'll be another house up for sale on that street with nothing being done. The very day they went to house court, a canine drug search was conducted. However, they forgot to check the attic, the basement, and the garage. Everything that happens over there happens in the garage. I watched a deal go down tonight. I can tell you another day. Another day, I was in front of my house. I witnessed a car, 2 a.m., pulled up in the middle of the street, unloaded items into the garage. About an hour later, another car came up, blocking across the street, and walked in there and bought a stereo. Now, either these people have a whole lot of junk to sell, or there's stolen goods being run through there. I personally worked for Hamilton County for 11 years, so I know a lot about what's going on next door to me, including the meth needle I found on the ground. There was an arrest for selling of meth that day, but out of the 5 residents that currently live there and the 20 that sometimes live there, only 1 got arrested. Another night, I and my husband had just got home. We're at my side door, unlocking the door. A gentleman shows up in my yard right next to me saying, "Those people next door are crazy. You got to get me out of here." It scared the living crap out of me. I turned around and said to him, "You need to turn around, walk down that driveway, and right down that street before I call the police." And he took off. And this is just an everyday occurrence. Anybody that pulls up to this house pulls up with a backpack on, they stay for a whole 15 to 20 minutes, and then they leave. It's very suspicious. So, Chief, I have a question for you. Do you personally live here in Colerain Township? No, you do not. Okay, I took the academy course in 2006. Do I have to have a refresher course to get in on the Citizens on Patrol? So I can go and ride around with them? Okay. And you answered my questions already about her being not physically arrested. She'll just keep being recited to court.
It's a vicious cycle.
Thank you, Brenda.
I just have one more thing to say. I am just respectfully asking both the board and the police to please put an end to this before something really bad happens over there. I live next door. If they're cooking meth over there, I'm not trying to die in a fire, and I definitely don't want to see that 10-year-old girl harmed in any way. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you.
Dusty Rhodes. Yes, sir. And thank you for limiting your comments to about 4 minutes or so.
How you doing?
I've got a 90-minute speech.
No, I just want to get everybody in. So if we kind of
Thank
keep
you for
them.
inviting me. Good news is no news. I wanted to make mention of the fact that I returned $167,000 to Colerain Township in unspent funds this year from the Real Estate Investment Fund. It's not a lot, but it's money that I could have spent that I didn't, and I wanted to return it to the local governments. I talked to your state representative, Lou Blessing, last night, and he's aboard. Colerain has lost $2.6 million from cuts in the local government fund over the last 8 years. I'm here to promise you that I'm going to keep fighting. The new administration hopefully will restore that money, and your representative is aboard for that. So it's important, and it helps keep local taxes down, and it's money that was promised and ripped away from you 8 years ago. $2.6 million that you don't have, that you should have had. So we're working.
Thank you for looking out on us. The source of the $167,000, that is auditor fees you charge us that you don't spend.
Real estate assessment fund. We have
So
to
that's
take
where
it
the rebate
by
comes
state
from?
law. Yep.
Does that go into our general fund by chance? Used for anybody know? Sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot.
I'm not sure where it's booked, but yeah, that makes sense.
We got an Amber Alert.
It's the general fund, but
Well, great. Thank you for your diligent supervision of the office down there and running it economically, and I think you have a very long track record of that. So,
It's good to be here, Mr. President, trustees, fiscal officer.
and I can't help but to recall.
This is a neat agenda.
Thanks.
Congratulations
And
on
thanks to Raj for inviting you, and I just have to
Thank you,
laugh.
Dusty, for-
You came to a school board meeting 10 or 11 years ago, and it was started with that meeting is what led to a cooperation with Josh Mandel and got the whole OpenGov site going. And I appreciate you being such a long-time supporter of that. It's not a party thing. It's just being transparent with funds, and that's part of what made Northwest the very first public school district in the state to go that way. And I've always appreciated your very long-time support of that, Dusty, so
Anything we
thanks.
can do to help.
Get that 2.1 back.
Thank you very much,
That would be
Dusty.
nice.
Yeah.
Thank you for,
We're working on it.
Amen.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Dusty. Thank you.
Dale Stoff.
Thank you to the trustees for inviting me, Mr. Unger. My name is Dale Stoff. I just wanted to introduce myself to the citizens of Colerain Township. I am running for the 1st District Court of Appeals, which is essentially Hamilton County Court of Appeals. I'll be on the ballot in November. I'm endorsed by the Republican Party. I've got an opponent who's endorsed by the Democratic Party. And I think there's a stark difference between the two of us. Just to tell you a little bit about my background, I just wanted to introduce myself again. Lifelong resident of Cincinnati, grew up in Delhi Township, raised my family in Greene Township, and now live in Miami Township. So we've sort of got the township
You love the
circuit
townships,
going,
don't you?
but not Colerain. Went to St. X High School. And also Xavier University. I was the distinguished military graduate in the Army ROTC program there. Was commissioned a regular Army officer and served a couple years in the 101st Airborne Division as a forward support platoon leader back during the Iran hostage crisis, actually. And then went to law school, was one of 21 Army officers selected to go to law school, went to the UC College of Law, graduate at the top of my class, and then served 6 years in the Army JAG Corps. I was a prosecutor for the 1st Armored Division over in Germany, was actually stationed over there when the Berlin Wall was still up.
Wow.
I remember hearing President Reagan give his speech at the Brandenburg Gate and say, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, and distinctly remember thinking, I will never see that in my lifetime, because it was truly impressive, the wall, in the worst of all possible ways. Came back to Cincinnati. I've been practicing law at Lindhorst and Dryden, then Buckley King. I'm currently the head of litigation at Wood and Lamping. And Wood Lamping actually has a long relationship with HCDC, and they are a tremendous program. But as the head of litigation, we do all kinds of civil litigation. My background, I've been recognized by my peers as a super lawyer in Ohio, and recognized top 50 Cincinnati, and since 2012, and top 100 Ohio for 3 out of the last 6 years. I was just recognized by Best Lawyers in America as being the top construction litigation lawyer in Cincinnati. And I've been on the Best Lawyers list for commercial litigation since 2013. I've represented plaintiffs, I've represented defendants. I think I bring a wealth of experience to the Court of Appeals. And for those of you who don't know, the Hamilton County Court of Appeals basically makes the law in Cincinnati, in Hamilton County. Whatever the Hamilton County Court of Appeals says, that is the law unless it gets reversed by the Ohio Supreme Court, and that happens very rarely because the Ohio Supreme Court only takes a handful of cases. So I've got criminal experience. I was a prosecutor in the Army. I also was unanimously appointed by the Hamilton County Commissioners to serve on the Hamilton County Public Defender Commission. I've got civil litigation experience, plaintiffs and defendants. I think I can bring a wealth of experience to the Court of Appeals, and would appreciate you considering me.
Well, thank you, Dale. How do you pronounce your last name?
Stoff.
Okay.
Dale Stoff, and it's actually a funny thing, I was on the Brian Thomas show, and he mispronounced my name originally, and of course my comment was, I don't really care how you pronounce it as long as you recognize it on the ballot. So in any event.
I appreciate you coming out. I know you had heard your opponent was here a few months ago, and you had asked for some equal time, so we have given you that. So thank you for coming out, and best of luck to both of you.
Thank you for the invite.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mike Parsons, and thank you for keeping your comments around 4 minutes, Dale.
Good evening, Mike.
Hey, good evening.
Hi, Mike.
How's everyone doing tonight? Yeah, I don't know. See, the agenda item here was my condolences to the Mr. Deloche family. I mean, was he recently deceased here in the township?
I don't know that, but I did ask Jeff about that agenda item and why we're approving that. For those who haven't seen it, there's a agenda item for a indigent cremation disposal.
Would you like me to talk about indigent burial?
Well, go ahead with your comments first. I'll let Jeff answer everything.
Well, I was looking for a little clarification. Bodies turn up around here all the time, not to be funny, but, just curious, what the demise was of this gentleman.
Why is that on the agenda, Jeff?
I don't mind, help the guy out, but.
If somebody dies and doesn't have the money for burial and there is no next of kin, then it's incumbent upon townships to pay for the cremation.
I see. So how long did he languish down at the coroner's office before that fell back on the township?
I don't know.
I can answer that. I mean, I believe they had to do 2 public notices in the newspaper, and even beyond that, then there was some time frame before he moved to the crematorium.
Where was he found in the township, or just any?
I don't think he was found in the township. He's a resident of the township.
I see.
I don't know Mr. Deloche.
I don't know. Is this new precedent, or does this come up quite often?
There's an Ohio Revised Code statute that imposes that duty upon townships.
Right. I'm curious what the repetition is on this.
It doesn't
First time in
happen
2.5
often.
years. Since I've been here, I've never seen anything like this, as far as I can recall.
Let me talk a little bit about the consent item. So that's an item in the consent section, and you'll notice that that's a new section in the agenda this month. One of the things that we're committed to is transparency, and so the trustees have given me the authorization to execute contracts that are less than $7,500, and typically I would just report out, during my administrative report, hey, I signed this contract, I signed that contract, I signed this contract. Well, what I'd like to do now is in full transparency, let's just put all the contracts that I signed.
I'm just looking for a segue into a little discussion here, and that seemed opportunistic. But,
right, and so to answer your question about how often that happens, maybe 8 times this year, and that's high. So Yeah.
Well, you know, I had a neighbor, you know, he didn't have too many people looking for him, and, you know, ended up similar to that, but it didn't get that far. But no, fine, I had no problem there. You know, let's get the guy taken care of. Just another quick side note on a topic here. I see that we're up for approval on a gate. Now, if I remember hearing from a couple meetings ago, some street residents were looking for some kind of barrier into a park or something. Is this that same project, or is this a different project?
I believe
Different.
so.
No,
Let Jeff answer that.
Real quick, I say just this isn't a resurrection of that $45,000 gate from a couple years ago, is it?
No, definitely not.
Which item are you referring to?
So he's referring. I think the two gates he's referring to clarify, Dan. We have a gate at the park to keep people out at night, and then we had a neighbor in Royal Heights that was asked for. So he was asking if those two gates are the same, and they're not. They're different. And then the other one he's referring to, the third gate, would be back in the previous administration era. They were talking about building an actual structure and a gate to charge people to come in and out of our parks, which we've since done away with the parking program. So there's three.
Which agenda item is, I'm sorry, just, which
It's
agenda item?
consent item B, and it is in regards to the conversation that we had last month about closing the gates at Clifford Park.
Uh-huh. Well, you know, does this affect the people at the end of the street? I'm really ignorant on the layout up there. I'm not a park goer. Or it's out a whole separate entity. We haven't
And so
resolved that.
there's two entrances to the park, and they'll both have a gate.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Okay. Huh. Well, you know, I'm itching to get over on the motel topic. I mean, and to segue into that, if we've got money for Mr. Deloche here, are we going to be on the hook for putting up the terminal cancer patient once he's evicted out of the Fireside Motel?
I wouldn't know that that's a local township thing.
Well, it seems
I
like
don't know that
interact
there's
pretty tight with them down there. You know, we seem to bring some of the underbelly of the township down there. It has nowhere else.
I wouldn't violate any HIPAA rules by revealing that.
Them on a numbers run for a call. I mean, you know, if you want to really beat the semantics horse here, it's, you know, that's getting pretty sad. You know, this woman's sitting down there crying. Really. I'd like a clarification. I don't want to really go into it, waste everybody's time. You know, you tried to explain this land deal down here several months ago, and all I needed to hear was a statement as it's too complicated to explain.
It's not too
Say no more. You know, so we'll never figure out exactly what transpired down here. You stole the motel from the woman, and we hear all about back taxes and this and that. But, you know, some suits went in there and tried to buy it outright from her, the woman that was buying it on a land contract. She didn't want anything to do with that.
Her issue is between her and the owner of record.
The owner of record won't answer the phone. You got her so balled up and scared. You know, I've already heard about strong-arm tactics going on with Duke here. What kind of strong-arm tactics went on with the woman on the deed here that she won't even answer her phone, won't respond to the woman that's paying the note? I mean, this gets shadier every day.
The lady who's buying it on a land contract has an excellent attorney, Steve Hunt. The lady who's selling it on a land contract has an excellent attorney. The two of them are trying to negotiate a price that they'll sell it for, and to negotiate how much each person will get for the sale.
What do you mean negotiate
Colerain-
the price they'll sell it for?
Colerain Township has nothing to do with that.
Well, wait a minute. This all went down under this quasi a real estate operation you're running here, a parallel operation.
We have nothing to do with the relationship between the seller and the purchaser on the land contract. They're each represented by very competent attorneys. They're trying to negotiate an equitable division as to how much each one of them will get from the sale. That's all there is to it. Colerain Township has nothing to do with that.
You stole the motel from the woman. You sent suits in, and then you come around strong-arm Duke. And the really bottom line of it is you sold us out as taxpayers. Didn't we have to subsidize some of that transaction? Was that $30,000?
I think we're paying to tear down the hotel.
Well, we're subsidizing this transaction. And I believe someone told me here not long ago that the market rate of the motel was about $500,000. And I hear boasting going on here about how we jacked Duke up another couple $1,000s to help facilitate the sale. All the while, it's going under market rate. And that's not even to touch on the Township Tavern down there. I mean, I don't know what kind of squirrely deal's going on with that. What did the township ultimately pay for that when they bought it?
I think downstream on this, Mike, I think our tax revenue that will come in is somewhat substantial. So the small investment up front is going to provide a nice revenue stream for
More
the
than
next
pay for itself.
30 years, and that'll keep us from having to spread taxes out amongst the residents. So
Tax revenue from what? That little chunk that the motel occupies?
From when Duke
Or the whole facility?
When Duke gets up and running, I think it's going to be a nice generator of revenue.
That's fine. I believe I heard in here that Duke didn't even want the motel, but was strong-armed into it. I still want an explanation for how we got to that point.
I don't know how we can strong-arm Duke.
Yeah.
Well, no, I heard
They're
it
pretty
straight.
big.
See, that's the trouble here. We don't have any minutes. I didn't even hear a request for approval of the minutes at this meeting. We don't hear no minutes. Haven't heard any minutes in years.
We just
you know what we need in here? We need a stenographer. That's what I'm requesting, that the township put a stenographer in here so we can review hard copy of what's said, transpired, and transacted in here.
Video recording of the meetings.
I want a stenographer where we can bring that up, turn it into hard copy, and put it right out there right now to where we can analyze it.
A court reporter, could be $80 or $100 an hour.
I don't care. Bring them in. You squander money away. How much money you paying on these gates, for crying out loud? Let's get an accurate representation of what's transpiring in this room. I see the yellow journalist.
Mike, you're welcome. You're
That's
welcome.
a good start.
Mike, you're welcome to go on, but
I understand. I've made a few points.
I've got other citizens here that want to talk.
Ask the chief
Okay.
or something. Kind of tone it down a little bit. We're hearing about some potential theft ring organization going on here and there. Have you been apprised of a possible theft transaction and ring occurring over in Murphy Homes, Orangewood Drive?
I have to check the intelligence records, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head about it.
Well, lifelong neighbor and friend, Eric Shank. I don't know if you know Eric Shank, sergeant, I believe, down at CPD. He had his house his shed burglarized over there on Chopin, and it turned out that the perpetrators had taken it around, and it seems like they were quickly liquidating up on Orangewood.
Okay.
And it turned out he was able to bring District 3 into that, and apparently corralled the merchandise coming out of the recipient's home. I was just curious if in your realm you've been aware of anything operating out of there like that.
Nothing that I know of off the top of my head, no.
Thanks. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mike. Sharon Sligar? Is that correct? Thank you.
How you doing, Sharon? Good.
Okay, couple of things. First, I wanted to thank Chief Denny for all the police work on our walkway. It's about 100% great back there now.
Excellent.
So nice and quiet. I also wanted to thank him for the arrest on that kid on Jackie's, and they found the gun.
Excellent.
So, yep, I think you guys are doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Now, I don't know if Jeff over there found out or not. Do I need approval to give this to the canine dog that retired?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yes, that's okay.
Okay, I'll give it to you to give to him. Okay, now, road work back there. It says in this letter that we received that the construction company will let us know when they block our driveways so that we can get our cars in and out of our driveways before they start. When is that going to start? Because we have never had anybody come to our doors yet. They block our driveways, but they don't let us know. Okay, and potholes. When are they going to start filling the actual potholes in our... I got pictures of them. I took pictures today of the potholes.
Send it to me and the addresses. I'll go out and look at it.
Okay, I don't know how to do that, but...
We'll go out and have a look. We do occasionally fill potholes ourselves.
Yeah, we had a thing... We had a thing about 2 weeks ago that said something about pothole patrol in our neighborhood. The only pothole they repaired was the one on Galbraith and Jaggies.
We'll come back out.
They didn't come back to our house, believe me. I got pictures.
What's your street?
Royal Heights. Royal Heights. They're really bad at Royal Heights and Lee Grove.
Okay.
That's where a lot of the pictures I got came from. One of them would actually take your tire with it if you hit it right. Okay, my 2 minutes are up, or 4 minutes, or whatever. Thank you.
Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you for Thank you so much.
She no longer has a bone to pick with you,
Jeff.
Marcus. Please.
This next one, it's either Jeff Brockhouse or Breckhouse. Brockhouse? Hi, Jeff. Thank you so much, Sharon, for respecting everybody's time. I appreciate it.
And I will be brief. I was here last year in 2017. I owned a property on 2499 Banning Road, purchased it.
That's right.
Had numerous meetings with the zoning staff, then appeared in front of the zoning commission, who gave unanimous approval for the zoning change. The trustees also voted unanimously to approve it. Even the Hamilton County Regional Planning Commission voted almost unanimously to approve it, strongly in favor of it, which was unexpected. At every step of the way, I pretty thoroughly described our business operations. I'm a commercial contractor for carpet and upholstery cleaning. We need a facility that was sort of centrally located for our purposes, where we would store our trucks. There's 1 or 2 people work there during the day. It was largely the selling point on the entire project that there would be no retail activity because had been zoned residential. There's not even professional visits. Virtually no activity. It was going to be a very quiet, sedate blend in with the neighborhood. The project has gone completely sideways. That's why I'm here, just to explain that. A few things I just want to put into the record. And very briefly, at the last meeting I had with staff, 2 things came up that sort of explain this. One was we had applied for a sidewalk waiver, which they informed me was going to be vigorously opposed, even though they had actually sort of recommended it originally. But that was no significance to me one way or the other, because whether you build the sidewalks or pay into the funds, about the same cost. But I pointed out that the sidewalks would not attach to any other sidewalks. I was sort of confused. Why would you want sidewalks built? Staff felt, oh, there's sidewalks there. And I was like, well, no, there's not. And I bring this up as a matter of sort of fairness to all concerned, that 2 people can look at the same thing and see something different. Like in my mind, I saw there's no sidewalks on Banning, no sidewalks on Pippin that connect to my property. To me, there's no sidewalks. However, there are sidewalks north of the intersection on Pippin Road, and there is sidewalks on the north side of Banning Road. And I think the staff also, in my mind, sort of a Freudian slip, if you will, they knew there's going to be other sidewalks because there is a development in the works for what used to be the hospital property. So that's a situation where, and it's reflective of many things in the process, where when I'm talking about the nature of my business, I'm not sure it just didn't go over their head what kind of facility we really wanted. And when they would talk about zoning, minutia, that kind of went over my head because I don't know anything about zoning really. And that created some miscommunication, and that was a big part of the problem. But why I'm really here tonight is the other dimension of the issue, which is there's been sort of an attempt to create a false narrative on how this all developed. And I use this as an example. In the last meeting, and in a previous meeting, it had been put out like, oh, you promised us the Taj Mahal, which is like, oh, come on. And in the last meeting, this was a
last year.
Yes. Okay. Well, no, earlier this year when the tide had turned, if you will. I don't want to make it personal, so I don't want to bring up like who said what or whatever.
Oh, that's fine.
It was just staff. And then at the last meeting, there was the saying, bringing forth as if what we had done was a bait and switch operation. Like we knew all along, we promised them one thing, but we're trying to put in a building, which is what I needed. And it was not that. Like I said, I spoke, I think, rather persuasively in front of all these bodies of exactly how we operate. I've been in business 36 years. We're a pretty high-profile company. Our main client is AFG, a Great American, and then other companies connected to that. So it's not, not a what you might think of as just a carpet cleaner per se. But anyway, the staff brought up that that we had presented the proposal from the get-go with this drawing an architect had done for us, and that's what had misled them, and that's the only reason they approved anything. And I said, well, no, that's not true. And again, like the sidewalks, you can go out and look, see where they are, and evaluate the facts. And in this case, there's a clear record, which I could provide if people wanted it, of when all the meetings took place with staff, when I went to the architect to commission this drawing, and when it was supplied to them. Tom Abercrombie recommended it only for it, kind of made a nicer visual presentation. he was very clear when he spoke at the meeting. He said, you know, to be clear, don't interpret this as a final representation of the building. It's just a concept. Turned out that I found out dealing with builders that I thought we have like 6,000, 8,000 square foot garage space. We can put a floor on top of that, and it's an easy way to create more office space. I found out that that's not economical. That's not a building reality. It costs more to build up than it does out. So our 800 or 1,000 square foot of office space we needed, that's sort of part of, so it's just one big rectangular single floor building. But again, that's the usage we need. That's the facility we needed. And I sort of resent the implication that there was some bait and switch involved, because clearly we did not provide that drawing to them ahead of time. The drawing was not even remotely the basis for the approval from all these bodies. It had nothing to do with it. It had to do with the fact that the property has been vacant for 40 years, used to have a gas station. Nobody wants to develop it. So I bought it 2 acres for $45,000. Nobody wants it. You can't build residential on it without remediating the property. You can't get any kind of bank loan to do any kind of construction without remediating the property. Right. I was willing to finance our project. Again, it was part of the whole appeal to it. Why the Hamilton County?
I recall you being here.
Yeah, you know, it was the idea that you know, it's going to be a very quiet operation. It's not going to interfere with anything. I can finance it myself. It seemed like a win-win-win to me. Now I understand the context has changed because of the other project, and I'm not going to speculate on what people's motivations are. I can live with the fact the situation changed. Business deal didn't work for me. I kind of took a bath. I lose. I can deal with that. But introducing this false narrative, which is easily disprovable, it kind of stuck in my craw, and that's why I'm talking here today. And I wanted on the record that that was not the case. There was no bait and switch whatsoever. Never promised a Taj Mahal. Promised a commercial facility for
right.
my
I
business.
recall that.
Yeah.
Do you have a business card that I could follow up with you?
I do.
Or could you approach and give me your phone number, and I'll. I kind of thought that was moving along after that last meeting.
Yeah, I was wondering what happened.
Yeah, I'm really stunned by the turn of events, but I can't speak as to exactly.
But I think I would be able to gather more out of it by. Are you over at this address right now?
Yeah.
What happened was we applied our zoning resolution to the plans that were submitted, and it didn't meet our zoning.
Okay. Is that development on the Providence Hospital property going, or that fell apart?
It fell apart.
Fell apart, yeah.
And did you know that? That the home builder either backed out or
I
something?
wouldn't doubt it. I talked to Tom. I mean, and I'm sure you all know Tom Abercrombie, and I kind of hate to bring him up as hearsay evidence.
He's a good fella.
But he probably won't appreciate me saying this, but he couldn't give me any explanation of what happened. I think maybe he knows, but just didn't want to tell me. But he told me, he says, Jeff, they do not want your building. And I said, well, what if we go through zoning, whatever, appeal? And he's like, you have 0% chance. It ain't going to happen. So I have to.
Yeah.
Now, I understand.
All anybody
I
needs to do.
this from you. I mean,
all anybody needs to do to get a zoning certificate is to produce plans that align with our zoning resolution. And there are instances where buildings will be built that are not in keeping with our zoning resolution, and in those instances, they go through the Board of Zoning Appeals. And so there is a way to get relief from the zoning resolution, and that's through an
yes,
appeal.
I've heard you say this, and that's again, it's part of a reasonable explanation, but it's not really true. I mean, I didn't want to have to say that so directly, but
Sure.
that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, it's Ohio Revised Code, so I don't know what you want to do.
I will follow up with a phone call for you for.
I just want it, like, again, there's no point in arguing. I've had the argument with all of them, and it's just clear, like, it isn't something where people are looking for a solution. They were looking for a rationale for saying no, still be able to say, well, we kind of like the idea. We're not going to go back on what we said, but we're going to make it so difficult. The answer is no. So that's what ended up happening. And again, I don't want to have the whole long argument again. There's no point. But I point out to you as an example, and there's many other examples of that, the situation with trying to pretend that the drawing was submitted as part of our original approach, and it was not. I mean, it's just not true, and that's typical of the changes that took place.
I presume you still want to build?
I don't know what to think at this point. You know, I mean, like I said, it knocked me back on my heels. Certainly can't do it this year, so for the time being, I'm waiting to see what happens, I guess. And it did occur to me, like I was teasing with Tom and the builder, you know, like, hey, maybe when all this other stuff falls through like it has before, all of a sudden they'll come back around and go, hey, we're ready for you now. You know, I think somebody didn't want me there. I don't know who, I don't know why. But
Okay.
I wanted to put it on the record that it wasn't at all any sort of bait and switch thing where we were trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes, because that's just not true. And
It's on the record.
Time, so, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that to us. I remember when you were here, and I thought that was just, but that's from the trustee point of view. I thought that we, so I'll follow up with Jeff, and I'll follow up with you.
Well,
So thank you for.
whatever, but thank you.
Okay. Tom O'Brien?
Okay, I got some handouts for you guys. I guess I'm unaware of the new,
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
or the meeting notice.
Thank you, sir.
3 o'clock this afternoon, or the earlier on the agenda. Sort of like a way of-
Thank you.
the top. I'm here tonight I'm here tonight to discuss one CSR initiated by myself. The CSR number is HR 18001045. So far, I had no response from Colerain Township on this issue. It is still a mystery to me how these issues are handled and why there is no communication on the progress of these issues. Only vague statements on the website. HR 18001045 was initiated on 4/10/18. The issue is 2 cars with flat tires parked in driveway. No approved numbers on house. Garage door has signs all over it. House is a total eyesore. I have been out of town on various vacations in July and August. I missed several council meetings, wasn't able to inquire or push this issue. On 8/29, I received an email from Hamilton County HMCOSCR at hamilton-co.org, whoever that is, not Colerain Township, stating that the CSR has been closed. It said that the problem was abated by the owner. This was an impersonal form letter and could not tell me if the township had any input on what it, on any input on it, as the words Colerain Township are not mentioned anywhere, only Hamilton County was mentioned. I am not certain from the township website where the case is. On 4/11, it stated in progress, work initiated. On 5/9, orders 1, whatever that is, approved, comments not available. On 2/9, abat/own, comments not available. There have been no updates since the 2/9 update. Since I could not get any real information from the township website, I went to look for myself. I was hoping to see a house that was finally brought into compliance with the code and no longer ashamed to the township. I could not verify that there was any action taken in response to this complaint. In fact, the house looks worse to me now than it was when I started this action, not abated at all. I invite the council to inspect the house themselves and let me know exactly what has been abated by the owner, or at least what SCR at hamilton-count.org thinks has been abated. The house is not compliant. There are still 2 cars with flats, tires parked in the highway. There are no approved house numbers on the house, and it's still total eyesore. The website is not user-friendly, and it's very hard to get any meaningful information from it. The website must have been designed by someone who knows of other avenues to get more in-depth information, or someone who just does not care if a citizen can determine what, if any, action has been taken. It certainly was not designed for the end user. Is there an information manual of how to use the website? Are there classes that we could attend to learn how to use the website? I am still looking for some way to follow up on this issue without having to quiz the council once a month. I would like to see where the issue stands now and timely updates to be made available to the public so that I do not have to beg for answers. I have been promised updates in the past, but no one has ever followed through. Please let me know how I can be kept current on these issues. Paragraphs 30.2 states motor vehicles except for as provided and other regulations No inoperable or unlicensed vehicles shall be parked or kept stored on the premises. Clearly, there are at least two, sometimes more, seems in the driveway. Paragraph 304.3 states, premises identification building shall have approved address numbers placed in the position to be plainly visible and legible and visible from the street. These numbers shall contrast with their background. There are no numbers on the house. So as far as I can see, nothing has been abated on this case. If a case can be closed without the property being brought into compliance with the property code, then what is the purpose of the code? And why should anyone bother to show concern and issue a CSR? Does anyone from the township get involved, or does Hamilton County take care of these issues, as the email implies? Should I open a conversation with Hamilton County? Do I need to resubmit this complaint? If so, who do I resubmit it to? Thank you, Tom O'Brien.
Tom, I some time ago, Jeff, didn't you get with Tom and go over the website?
We took about 15 minutes during a trustee meeting to give a presentation just for you on how that process works.
Right, and then we had a conversation, and you told me there's some secret place on the website that you can look and find the rules or whatever.
Yeah,
but I forgot the next day.
We had a phone conversation.
It's hidden in a different. The CSR is over here, and he was talking to me over here and then somewhere else. I guess I should have took better notes.
That's fine. And that house you're talking about, I stopped over your house twice over a couple of weeks, and I went down and looked at it, and I don't think there were any flat tires in the driveway then, and that's probably changed if the cars are still sitting there.
They're still sitting there.
I want you to know I did go out and look at it twice.
They were covered with tarps, but you could actually see, if you took time to look, you probably can't drive by and see it.
Well, I got out and took a couple pictures, just so I could look at them.
Pictures, but the pictures wouldn't do any good. But I definitely, this afternoon at 4 o'clock, there's two cars with flat tires.
Okay.
And another dump truck sitting there.
you
And the
recall
house
what-
still has no numbers.
I think one important thing to take away, Mr. O'Brien, and anybody else who has an issue like you, is that we have a code enforcement officer. He's full-time. His name's Chris Cavallero, and his phone number is on the website. If you aren't satisfied with your conversation with Chris, then you would escalate that to his boss, who is Jenna LeCount, who's the Director of Planning and Zoning. If you're not satisfied with Jenna's response, Jeff Weckbach is the Assistant Administrator for non-safety issues. If you're not satisfied with his response, you can talk to me. There's 4 people that you can talk to, so you don't have to come here and have this conversation with the trustee.
But I welcome.
As I say in the past, I've been promised updates on a weekly basis, but it just never came to fruition.
Well, we've had about 1,400 different complaints that we've investigated, and so the way I understand, I also think that it's
if you can't come through on a promise, you shouldn't make it.
No. So we've made the promise that we're going to keep people up to date on their complaints, and so anybody can log in at any time, night or day, from their house and find out exactly where their complaint is, and that's something that we've never had the ability to do in the past, and something I'm very proud of.
Well, if somebody can show me where that is in writing so I can study it or whatever, because all I see is no comments, nothing available. I mean, I go to the website.
Be able to follow up with
I can give you
Tom.
a call again.
Okay.
Yeah, that's no problem. And the other thing is, I agree with you. Our website is not user friendly, and the trustees have approved the creation of a brand new website, and I believe that that new website will be much more user friendly and easy to navigate.
Is there any real information there, or just what I'm seeing?
There's tons of information on the internet.
Well,
Mr.
tell me why.
Mr. O'Brien, I actually just pulled it up right here from the Colerain website. I'd be happy to show you exactly what's on here. I can tell you that it was received, your complaint was received on April 10th.
Yep.
It was marked as in progress on April 11th.
Yep.
It was, status was changed to orders 1, meaning that they were served notification of the violations on 5/9, and then the owner abated the issues as of the 8/29 inspection. So the owner corrected the issues by the time Chris was out there to re-inspect. So that was closed in our system. I think per the presentation that Mr. Mills made for you a couple months ago in my absence.
I guess, does anybody follow up on that? Because it definitely has not been abated. Nothing has changed since day one, since I've seen the site. It's still just the same.
The last inspection that our code enforcement officer had on the property found that everything was in compliance.
I guess then I would ask him to look again. If necessary, come get me and I'll point out exactly what is still out of whack. There are no house numbers on the house.
Is that illegal, by the way, not to have house numbers on a house? I mean, do you have to have...
It's a code issue, yes. Jenna, would you please make sure that Tom gets the answers he needs and get his phone number from him, give him a call tomorrow and that type of thing. Thanks, Jenna. Is that okay, Tom?
Yep. Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Tom will follow through this.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll run back down over there and see how it looks. Josephine Broach. I think.
Yeah, it looks like Josephine.
Is Josephine still here? Okay, Linda Neese.
How you doing, Linda?
Thank you. Hi, honey. I guess I shouldn't have said that. I'm here with concerns about Pippin Road from Northwest High School to Civic Center. We have, every day I ride that, taking my grandchildren to school at Northwest High School. And Friday, there was, the kids just, they're walking on the side of the road, and that's my concern, where there is no sidewalk. And I've talked to Northwest, they've notified them, but the kids will not cross over to go over there, to walk on the sidewalk side. They are walking like 4 deep, the children are, out in the road. Friday, 3 cars in front of me stopped like this from hitting the children. They would not get out of the street. So who can I go to? What can I do? I don't want no child hit or killed there.
Yeah.
And things. And can we get a sidewalk? Can you give me a flashing thing so I can cross the kids? Or I don't want no kid hurt.
So I feel like I've gone to war on this issue many times. So you've got a few issues going on here. One being it's a county road, and it's really easy for the township to say whether it's Colerain Avenue is controlled by ODOT or anything that ends in road is controlled by the county. So street, drive, lane, township's responsibility, county would be anything that ends in road. Galbraith Road, Pippin Road, Springdale Road. Ultimately, we're very lucky. We do have a sidewalk fund that has, it took a decade to set up, to get enough money in it to finally do a small section of road. That was already identified by a previous administration how to allocate. Yeah, it took forever to allocate, but thank goodness it was. The reality is the school and or the county is going to have to step up on this. They're just going to have to. It's ultimately their responsibility. They're going to have to step up on it. What kind of surprised me recently, with all due respect to the new schools being built and everything, they actually paid into the sidewalk fund, which I was a little bit surprised by. I was taken back, to be honest with you. I thought for sure that they would want to promote that, but they didn't. So, the reality is we have a ton of areas in this township that are insanely dangerous for kids to walk on and young adults. Doesn't matter, safety, that need to be addressed. But the right entity needs to do that, because the reality is that the township, unless it's a pretty extreme circumstance, is not going to pay for private property improvements and stuff like that. So your complaint is 100% valid, and I will fight on your side all day long on this, but we have to fight the appropriate entity, which is, again, going to be the county or the school in this case, if it's in front of the school. It's an uphill battle because nobody wants to spend money. That's what it comes down to.
Do you find that at the beginning and end of the school day? Is this on weekdays during school?
This is just through the school days, yeah.
We have a resource officer.
We actually have a new resource officer there. I can speak to him and ask that he make an announcement to the school, and he can take action if they continue to do that.
Well, we had them there. Mr. Thomas is the one that sent me here.
Okay.
And because I talked to them, and I talked to the school, and I talked to the other police officers and things. But we have Roosevelt that runs going to Hamilton Avenue to the interstate. People's going to work, and it's busy that time. Then we got Civic Center where they're going to go to work. That's their main thing. There's a lot of traffic there.
Yeah.
But I went to the school saying, give me a stop sign, give me a light, something so I can get those children on the sidewalk. If they just cross the street to get on the sidewalk. We have 2 police officers up there, The police officers are wonderful to cross the kids, and things. But how do we get those kids over there?
Did you say you did go to the school and told them that? What did they say to you when you told them that?
Well, they said, they send things home to them and they make announcements and stuff, but you got high school kids. They're going to do whatever they want to do,
Yeah.
And just like the other day, just like this, they run across traffic coming this way and going this way. And I mean,
It's
I
dangerous.
don't want any of them hurt, and they're going to be. There's some of them going to be hurt. They're going to, even where the white line is, you know, to walk on, they're too deep over walking in the road. If there's not traffic coming, the cars will go around them, or they'll have to stop till these kids get by.
We sadly we had a fatality this summer actually from a guy walking in the street where there wasn't a sidewalk on Cheviot Road, a county road.
Right.
Of course, there was actually a sidewalk on the other side of the street, but not on the side he was on. It's again, I mean, we do have some sidewalks coming. Actually, Jeff Mills did a great job, more than paying his salary by getting a grant on some sidewalks. Colerain, what was it, Burnside to? Do you recall what the distance was?
To Banning.
Burnside to Banning, yeah. So good distance there. And then obviously we've got some road improvements going on Banning as well. But the reality is, you know, I'm going to have your back tenfold on this one, but it's just a matter of getting a hold of, you know, the county and the school and getting them to step up. Because if the township's going to do this, it's going to take another decade to get enough money in that township fund to even put a
And
dent
in the
in it.
meantime, I'm going to ask
Can
Mark
I
to...
get people together to go to the Hamilton County?
Yeah,
I'll get 'em.
it starts with one, and
You know,
then
Craig, I'll get 'em.
Yeah, I know you will.
Linda, let me explain to you. I know this issue for a long time. I seen it. The kids, it's a very dangerous situation. I met with the Ted Hubbard, the county engineer. We talked about this for an hour, this problem. And me and Ted Hubbard, he's a county engineer, actually it's a county road. We're going to make some type of progress on this. And this is a very, very important issue. And we need to address the problem. And Ted is willing to work with us, and I'll work with the township.
Because I know years ago, they said that before they did it up at Adams, they were going to put sidewalks in and do it there by the high school. Or can they put a flashing light up or something? You know, what? I don't know what the flashing light would do. Somebody in the neighborhood said if we had them stop signs that flash like up there. But I don't think that's going to do any good with sidewalks to keep the kids out of the street. You know,
It's the biggest concern.
I suggested a paddle to the kids, but we can't.
I got a belt you can borrow.
I'll ask our patrol officers, in addition to the school resource officers, they get tied up, to the patrol officers to hit that at the beginning and the end of the school day.
They said that maybe a couple days a week they might be able to be up there to sort of direct the kids. But it starts like at Civic Center where the kids come over from, I guess, Seven Hills or whatever that is over there. I don't know what that's called. But they come over there and they come over in swarms.
Yeah.
And then them streets like Roosevelt and the side streets, all the president streets and stuff like that. The kids come out there in swarms, and I mean they're just like.
Yeah. Yeah, it's dark. They're wearing dark clothes.
Well,
You know, it's
in
windy.
just a few weeks we're going to have it dark, and then you're not going to see the kids.
And then we're going to have snow soon. And
We'll ask Chief Denny to make sure that it gets addressed.
But I know Mr. Thomas said he would try to have somebody a couple times a week be up that way to sort of direct the kids to cross the street. But I'm just wondering if we had a place closer up, away from the school, because we have police officer there at Stout, at Struble, and then up at the, you know, coming out of the school. We have directing the traffic at a certain time.
Right.
And things, but if we had somebody up farther to maybe, or
Linda?
school said they've notified the kids, they've sent out things, they've let the parents know, and they've announced. But the kids
That's good. I didn't know that they did
that. If you'd like
They're
to,
the age, they know more than we do anyway. You know.
if you'd like to give your contact information to Chief Denny, I'll make sure he follows up with you.
Okay, because
Okay?
we'll get you that paddle
All right.
too.
I don't want to have to pick one of them kids
I
up.
don't want to either. That just happened with Cincinnati Public 2 days ago, and we don't want that out here. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Thank you, Linda.
And there was a pretty horrific thing that happened down on Harrison Avenue in Fairmount with the young lady, the 15-year-old Gabrielle. That so we certainly don't want that visiting us here in Colerain. And Carrie Davis.
Are you Carrie Davis?
Yeah, and just everybody would remember if there's 15 of these. If you try to limit it to 4 minutes, then everybody's respectful.
I don't hardly have anything
of
to
neighbors.
say. First off, with the chief, it concerns me that the school district is really taking advantage of our police department. They are tight on funds. And I don't know if it's your job to be their private police on the roadways.
We
And I don't know
we
if
have an
that's-
officer in each school that we're under contract
I know.
with, and they do pay their
But
part of
they
it.
have a lot of details out there for Struble and stuff, haven't they?
Yes, it is, sorry.
Yeah, I think that money's going to add up and deplete his budget, and I think we need to address Northwest using our police department in such a frivolous manner. I think he's got duties he wants them to do, and I think this is a big burden. They might need to hire crossing guards. I was at the Board of Education meeting last night, which was terrible. Moms and grandmas were literally crying up there. The bus drivers union was there, and they were throwing a fit. They said that, contrary to what Mr. Rhodes said, that the state of Ohio just cut another $1.4 million from their budget. And of course, you know, our rep is on the Ways and Means Committee, and so he's part of that. But anyway, they got another $1.4 million cut from their budget and admitted they cut in the busing department, and that's why this is all going on. And I don't think they should bleed our police department's resources to compensate for their budget cuts. Another thing that I do want to mention, because of running for office, I get so many calls, and I end up becoming the point person on a lot of things, and I try to help people get through problems. And I wanted to say, with the flooding this week, it was really bad on Burnside. I went there personally, and a woman was sitting on her front porch, and I was like, "What are you," in the rain? I'm like, "What are you doing?" And she said, "I have to watch my drain. That all the mud and all the gravel that's in piles along the road is washing down in their dips in the driveway and clogging up all their pipes." And she has to keep going down there and shoveling off all the mud and debris. I made probably 2 hours worth of phone calls the other day trying to find out who's in charge of this. And clearly we have OSHA violations going on. We have land and soil issues going on. We got pollution orders issues going on. But I haven't heard of any citations, any financial fines to this contractor for any of these problems. But we have residents who are getting hit in the pocket by both the flooding that isn't being addressed and the soil going into their drains. We're going to end up having to pay, somebody needs to pay, to have all their pipes blown out because it's going to be an accumulating problem. I spoke with Mr., how do you say your name? Schwartzoff, and tried to forewarn him. I don't know if anybody from Birdside showed up today. But I think maybe could we possibly expand that zoning board program we have with the online to include other complaints, because people don't know where to go. And I found out there's 5 different people to go to in the county. Board of Health, the trash debris problem, that's Board of Health. You know, soil and erosion is somebody else. There's so many different things. And I was wondering if we could start a program where we report that through that zoning complaints, and then let his department figure out who it goes to, because he knows what he's doing. I sure don't.
That's exact, and you can do that today.
What?
File a request for service to take a look at your road.
And the stormwater problems and stuff like that. And one of the things that scared me, we had a couple people who claimed to be civil engineers in the discussion, and they talked about some answers, and they felt that when they spoke to the township, they didn't get good responses. They got shoulder shrugging feelings from them. And so I don't know if we can figure out ways to actually, somebody's got a portalet in the middle of their front yard.
I saw that picture.
Yeah, well, you saw all the
That's
things
the
I
one
saw.
for those who don't know, Burnside, no streets back there are currently undergoing major rehabilitation, and likely the contractor has a portalet there so that the workers have a place to go.
Well, actually, that one's in my neighborhood. That's not, I don't think that's on Burnside. I think that was in my neighborhood. I could be wrong. There's so many pictures out there. But apparently they did it without permission.
Yeah.
Ms. Davis, if you go to our CSR right now, you can select if there's a street light out, if there's a view obstructed in traffic, if there's a pothole, if there's drainage or erosion problems, which it sounds like you're talking about, street sweeping, sign needs repaired, a tree that's dead in the right-of-way, or an
You can use
animal.
that as a centralized complaint thing, just
the
not
idea.
zoning.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
I'll share that with the residents out there. Okie dokie. That's about all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for staying within the time I asked. Keith Miller? Hi, Keith.
How you doing, Keith?
How y'all doing tonight?
Good.
Well, good evening to you all. And I come up here, so much goes on up here, I don't even know where to start anymore, you know. Nothing's really changed. This is the same room it was when Ritter was running it. What's changed? I see all Ritter's cronies still sitting here. When Ritter come into this room, first thing he did was he fired everybody and hired his people. And we still have them people. What'd you guys do?
I think we have competent department heads, and if I didn't think that, they would be on their way.
Well,
but I think we have
weren't they
competent people
competent
working
before
here.
Ritter got here?
There was an
people
election,
Ritter fired?
and Jeff and Mike lost, and Raj and I are up here, so.
Okay.
And we've made a lot of improvements. Like Mr. Mills said, we're up to about 1,400 complaints we've responded to, and I think the word's out that we're really trying to get the township cleaned up, and the ones that there aren't, I personally go out and look at them, and I'm taking notes of where I'm going to be going over the next week, and so that's one of the changes. So.
Okay. But 6 months after Ritter's gone, his deals are still going on.
Well, no, the administrator's not here anymore.
Well, I look right now, the Township Tavern sold, what'd you say, $147,000 we got for it?
I'm sorry, the what?
The Township Tavern, Grossbeck Tavern.
He's talking about the new resource center.
Township Tavern.
It's now
We got
substation.
$147,000. Is that what I heard? I thought you said that at the meeting. You said we had $147,000 for the Township Tavern. So what did we get for the Township Tavern?
$10 million worth of investment in 150 jobs.
Pretty 150
great.
jobs that go on the road every day.
That's fantastic.
They were linemen. They get their truck and they hit the road. They ain't spending money in Colerain Township.
I
Well, you
think
still have to drive through it, so I would
think it's going to
disagree.
be a real economic boom for that area. There's some things that I know about that are going to happen there that aren't public information yet, and I think there's going to be a real boom down there. And I was just with Jeff on one of those potential items about a week ago. We talked about it.
I know of at least one person, I know it's just one, but that I know of that's moving to Colerain now because they want to be closer to where they work. So they're actively looking for a house here. So there's a lot more up than a good side than bad, in my opinion.
Okay.
And Keith, we're trying, and I want you to know that.
Well, did you ever go look at the one on Nillis? That's what Duke's going to bring to you up on Nillis and
Oh, you're saying their facility?
Miles, or is it Nillis and Mills?
That's a pretty old building up there. That old.
Right.
That
But
was
that's
a
what they're
Cincinnati.
gonna bring
Right.
there.
Well, that was an old Cincinnati Gas and Electric facility.
Right.
And
Which is-
I don't think they're going to bring a 50-year-old building here. I think they're going to have a nice new modern state-of-the-art building.
Well, it's going to be a fenced-in area with trucks sitting behind it. Am I correct?
I think
haven't
it's
seen
a
it
great resource that if there's an electrical problem, I love electric. It's lighting our room. If there's an electrical problem, I really like the idea of having that resource right here in Colerain so our citizens get first service when the invisible servant electric happens to go away for a few hours.
I remember when Duke left me sit in the dark for 3 damn days, too.
And there was trees
There's only
down
light on my
everywhere.
street because I have a gas lamp post from the 70s.
Do you really? Wow.
So that's the only reason my street was lit up even. Duke let us down for 3 days before they got the power back on, so don't give me that.
You're living off the grid.
Well, I used to be on the grid with Provident Hospital. So when they switched, so when they kept Provident on, which kept me on. Now I'm on a different grid. Provident's gone, so I don't get my power back on as fast.
Well, Keith, I can tell you one thing. Everybody up here is trying their best. We all have flaws, but we are trying our best to make this a better place to live. I wouldn't be.
I like Township. Always say I've been here since '60. I was
I've
2
been
years
here
old.
since the '60s, also.
I was 2 years old.
Arm wrestling.
I'm now 60 years old, and I'm looking at this township. I said, with the Rumpke expansion, let's talk about that. What do we got, 24 years, and the dump's going to become Rumpke Top? What do you think the township's going to be then? Greater Northbrook is going to end up the projects. That's what's going to end up happening. Greater Northbrook and Northgate, that's all destined to be the projects in the future. Because of Rumpke, the township's going to go downhill. That dump isn't going to stop till it hits the river. It's going to follow Colerain Avenue all the way down to the river. And that's what's going on now, and it's going to ruin this neighborhood Like I said, I've only got about 24 years to put me out the oldest member of my family, immediate family. So, you know, I'm looking out for the future of this neighborhood, not myself. The future neighborhood is dim with that dump. And, you know, I said Rumpke Top's what it's going to be. It's already known as Rumpke's Mountain. Now there's a second mountain growing, which never should have happened. But Ritter let that happen after he took Rumpke's money and let him do that.
All right.
All right, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you,
Thank
Ken.
you for staying within the time frame I'm trying to set. Chris Henson? Hi, Chris.
I'm shorter. Before I start, we have several members of the Historical Society here. I'd like them to stand during the presentation.
Thank you all for coming.
I'm Chris Henson with the Historical Society, and this is Larry Shadd. On tonight's agenda for a trustee vote is a donation of a flood marker pole at Heritage Park. And during his report, Kevin's going to be changing the name of the donor from Larry Shadd as a private person to the Colerain Historical Society as an entity. As a member of Colerain Historical Society, Larry has had a long-time goal to have a flood marker pole down at Heritage Park. But one must prioritize their goals. And once the toll house that Larry saved from demolition was rescued and renovated and placed at Heritage Park, Larry was able to go on to his next goal, and that was the flood marker pole. He's worked diligently over the last year, designing the pole and obtaining the necessary permits to have it down in Heritage Park. So on behalf of the Board of Directors of the Colerain Historical Society, I'm here to confirm that the Society will be donating the pole to the Colerain Township Parks Department and that Larry Shadd will continue as the project chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, Larry. Kathy Moore? Thank you very much, Larry. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Kathy. Good evening. I have a couple of things. I know at the last meeting, or the one prior, I don't know, they talked about the training center that the fire department used to use, and I wondered, you were doing an assessment of that, and I wondered if it had been considered to sell the property. I mean, it was donated to the township, and if anybody had thought about possibly selling it.
No.
So you're definitely looking for somebody to lease it?
Yes.
Okay. And did you find out how that would affect our tax exempt status?
I believe they'd be tax exempt. It's a federal. I mean, I think we've had this conversation. We're working with the Drug Enforcement Agency, Drug Enforcement Administration, to locate a strike force in Colerain Township, drug interdiction strike force. So that's what we're working on presently.
Okay. Regarding public record requests, at the last meeting, I gave Heather 9 public record requests that I hadn't received since June. And so I requested those again, and I did receive some of them. I did request a purchase order for, I believe it was 4 weeks ago, that the board approved the Burnside property to repair that. Was that accurate? You said the township would repair that?
You mean 2820 Burnside? We directed the Streets and Roads Department to get that fixed so that the project could proceed there.
And the township would pay for it?
Yes.
Okay, so I requested a copy of the purchase order
Well,
for
there wouldn't
that.
be a purchase order. It was a lower dollar figure, I guess.
Well, you have to have a purchase order for everything. I
Part of our
request,
Ms. Moore, it's part of the SKIP project. It's paid for as part of the SKIP project.
so the township's not paying for it?
Yeah. Yes, we are. I mean, in our grant and in our loan, it's part. You know that we're reconstructing that road.
Correct.
Okay. So as part of the cost of reconstructing the road, this small dollar amount figure is a part of
Around
that.
$2,800 is what it, I don't have it in front of me, but ultimately, the contractor was already there, already had his equipment there, and because of the economy of being there and the street already being torn up and no pavement restoration because they're going to pave it soon anyway, it ended up being a lower dollar figure. I'm not going to have one little, because the guy's under no obligation to fix it. So if he doesn't fix it, and 5 years from now the street gets a big sinkhole in it, which may have been a practice sometime a long time ago, we don't do that here in the 2018 board. So the board, by majority vote, directed our street department to fix it, and the total fix on it was something around $2,800. I can get that exact amount for you. It was something right in that range.
That will come out of township funds.
It comes out of
So we're reconstructing the road using SKIP money, which is the State Capital Improvement Program.
Okay, so SKIP is paying for that repair.
So half of that is a grant and half of that is a loan. Okay, so it was given to the township. So that's how the project is being paid for. Does that make sense?
No, it doesn't. When you say a loan, I'm sorry.
That's when somebody gives you money.
Ultimately, it is taxpayer dollars from whatever source, but I'm not going to, it'd be foolish to hold up a project of that magnitude. You just heard a previous speaker talking about, the other problems on Burnside. I'm not going to hold up that project.
If the township is paying for it, there should be a purchase order for that expense.
So there's a purchase order for the project.
Okay, so I asked for a copy of that, and I was told there was no purchase order for it.
Probably I don't know what the most recent purchase order is for that multi-million-dollar project, but you would like a purchase order for the Burnside Skip project. Is that what your request
Well,
is?
for what the township is paying.
Yeah, we're paying for all of it.
Okay, I understood your records request to be specific to the sewer, just the thing the gentleman came to speak about at the meeting.
Right.
I understood that your records request was specific to that.
It was.
Okay, so
There's no record.
so there's not a
There's
purchase
probably a
order.
bill for it that was applied to the purchase order that exists for the bigger project.
So the whole thing is covered under a universal purchase order.
Whatever the contract was that was executed to rebuild that street.
And the contract has a contingency for things like this, so our contract's actually for more than the original amount of the project to pay for things like these or things in the field that we find need to be fixed. So the contract includes things like we approved at that board meeting through the contingency money.
Right. So there's no individual purchase order for that, whatever it was close to $2,800. I don't have it in front of me, but that goes under the larger purchase order. That project was probably approved. When was that approved?
August?
February, March.
Right. When we were doing our bigger stuff, and it saves money to keep the project moving along. But anyway, so you want is that a good answer, that it's on the contract under the contingency funds?
The contract's actually online for Gardenia, Acre, and Burnside, the contract for the project.
Great.
It would fit within that contract.
So would that satisfy your request to see the contract and how it's in there?
I'll get with Heather.
Okay.
This is a little more confusing than I thought. The only other thing was on July the 10th, the board did not pass a resolution to take a contract with Northgate Mall. And then on July the 24th, they did pass a resolution, and it was to be effective July 25th of 2018. And through public record request, I have a list of all the officers who worked the mall between the 15th and the 24th. So we had no contract with them, but yet we had police officers there working. And I feel like, as I've said before, when Mr. Rowan was here, it's kind of like each department just kind of did whatever they wanted to do. And am I wrong? Did the board know that they were?
For that.
I don't think so.
Yes, we billed them for that.
Well, I know, but you didn't have a contract with them.
That's correct.
So how does that sit with the board? You didn't approve the purchase order, but yet we continued to provide service to them without a contract.
That wouldn't be a
purchase order.
That would be a contract. Purchase orders.
And you had no contract between those
buy
days.
something.
You had no contract with them, but yet we worked at the mall during that period.
If we send an officer out to somebody that requests an officer for a few days to.
No, this was to work the mall hours.
I understand it, but just so I can learn more too. If we send an officer out to work some event or some place for a week, or traffic control for a week for a project, do we typically have a contract for that, or?
No, we can get some for longer term ones, but we just do a detail for them.
So is it permissible to just send somebody out and tell them this is what it's going to cost, send them a bill and have them pay it?
There's a rate that goes with that, yes.
Okay. So that's why, so that would be the reason there's a, what did you say, 10 or
You
11
did
day?
not approve the contract on the 10th, and yet we continue to fulfill the contract.
Well, we sent an officer there and charged an hourly rate, and it's just like
But you didn't have a contract with them at that time.
if,
You didn't
Joe's-
approve it until the 25th.
And that new contract locked in whatever the rate changes were and the time period for the contract.
But the contract started on the 25th.
It speaks to the great relationship that we have with the mall,
Well-
that we don't need to enforce a contract.
Well,
We
I
can-
think the township needs to. I mean, if you're approving a contract, you don't start the contract before the actual date of the contract.
Okay. Well, in my example, I just asked Chief Denny about if somebody wants some time with one of our officers for a week. Thank you, Kathy. We'll just move on. Thank you, Kathy. Stephanie Wright.
Good evening. I have a couple of questions, of course, or I wouldn't be up here. We have a presentation tonight by HCDC. Would that be something that would be a subcontractor, or we would?
No, it's not a contract, it's a service of the agency. It's part of that program, the offer to the every citizen, every residents in the Hamilton County to build the economy. I don't think so we have any contract with the SCDC.
Not aware of any
No,
contract.
no
So there wouldn't be
contract.
any fee associated with
More
that?
information sessions they had, I invited them, because a lot of people doesn't know about HCDC. A lot of people want to have the business mind, but they don't know where to go. And this is more like a educational or explanation. I don't think so, there's no contract.
There's no fee or anything associated with it?
You'll have to talk to them about their, I'm not aware of any fees for the service.
There's no fee to approach HCDC.
Great. Public safety tonight, we're building or permitting the purchase of a dog house for Teo, one of our police dogs. I was just wondering where he's been kept since he's been on her payroll, for lack of a better term.
In the officer's house.
Okay. And so now there's a need for him to be moved outside of the home?
Yes, when there's people over there or he's not able to stay with the dog, he needs to have someplace to put it to keep it safe and to keep other people safe.
Has that been common practice for our township?
We just started a canine program.
We just started?
Yeah, we just started in the last 2 years. He kept the dog in the house. This is a much different dog than the dog we had before. This is an aggressive patrol dog, and it doesn't need to be kept around people as often as the other one did.
Okay. I'd like to say thank you to Peach Grove Animal Hospital for donating money to the township, and they're a great local independent veterinarian clinic here in our township, and I like that they support us and we support them. I also think that the flood pole that Mr. Shad is doing is fabulous, and I'd like to thank him for his time, effort, and energy to give back to his community, and it's just it's a great thing, and I can't wait to see it. Public services, we're hiring Mr. Borsarge this evening. I was wondering if that job is posted.
Jeff?
You're asking me if the job was posted. I don't know. Was the job posted? So we had seasonal maintenance workers were advertised back in, I don't know, March. We've had a number of college students and high school students that were seasonal maintenance workers go back to school.
Mhm.
We still have work to do, and so.
So was that job posted?
At some point, yeah. I don't know.
Back in March?
In March, yeah.
Saying?
Yeah.
Is he a seasonal, what is his hours, is it full-time or?
No, he's a part-time.
Okay.
Less than $1,500 a year.
Okay. Also on the agenda this evening, we have a motion to appoint the Land Use Committee. our meeting that we held on, our trustee meeting that was held on August 14th. There were a set of bylaws that were presented to the trustees, and at that time I had brought it to your attention that Pleasant Run Farms is not in Colerain Township. You went ahead and okayed
We
it.
talked about that, and Jeff tells me there is a section of it that is.
Okay. And I'd like to thank Miss Monica Bowles, who applied for that land use committee. However, she was denied. She doesn't live in Colerain Township, but lives in Pleasant Run Farms. And then I'd also like to thank Matt T., who also applied for that position for the committee. I think that's a great direction for our township to move in. I have a question about the Banning Road project that tonight on the agenda, we've purchased a piece of property for $26,000 that is purchased from the Sunoco shop there. Sunoco gas station, a corner of Banning and Colerain, that's now going to be widened.
I'm not sure that's the Sunoco. The Sunoco's.
But it's the gas station that's there on the corner.
Okay. The gas station that's there in the corner. Has that money been already allocated towards that, or is that an additional expense for that
I
project?
believe that's part of the agreement with the school district to our half of the agreement to widen that so that the traffic coming out of Struble Elementary can be improved.
So the 26,000 is going to come off of the shared amount of 300,000?
26,000 is not going to be paid for by the township.
It's not?
It is not.
Okay. We're not purchasing that property from her?
So we are partnering with Northwest Local School. You're on the CIC, right? Right. And so we've talked about this a number of times. The way that project is structured is the township is going to partner with this Northwest Local School District to construct a turn lane from Banning to Colerain Avenue, right? And we said that we were going to pay no more than $350,000 for that. So far, I think we have POs outstanding to the tune of like $48,000. So, and those were for professional services. One of the professional services that we procured was a man named Dennis Zicardi, who purchases right-of-way, right? So he's our agent in the purchase of right-of-way. So he went out and negotiated, you know, the purchase and sale of a little strip of grass, and so we bought his service, and the school district is going to pay for the actual acquisition. The total cost that the township is going to pay is not going to exceed $350,000 per our agreement. So, and if your question is, you know, who's paying for what? Right now, we're paying for Mr. Zicardi's service, and the school district will be paying for the purchase of the property. So we're not paying $26,000.
Okay, and what is Mr. Zicardi's position? Does he work for the township, or is he just a
Contractor.
He's a contractor?
Yeah, we have a contract with him for the purchase of right-of-way.
Okay. He doesn't work for Hamilton County?
No, he has a company that purchases right-of-way.
Okay, because I noticed I thought it was the same person that, oh, never mind. Okay, so we are, I'm sorry. Okay, the special meeting that happened back on June 26, 2018, there was a resolution that was passed, and it was signed by Mr. Unger and Mr. Insco to loan $530,000 to the CIC. At that meeting, Mr. Rajagopal was absent, but it was kind of time sensitive that we went ahead and went through with this that night, even though most residents asked for that to be tabled. The board moved on ahead. And one of the reasons was, Mr. Unger, you stated that the construction time frame is seasonal, and that if we were to delay it by waiting till July or August to pass it, it would perhaps hinder the development.
Right, and we're probably running out of weather at this point.
Great.
So,
why hasn't that money been given? Why hasn't that check been written?
So we talked about this project earlier. We're talking about the Duke project.
Mhm.
And as Larry explained just a couple of minutes ago, the owner of the Fireside Motel and the operator of the Fireside Motel are trying to figure out an equitable distribution of the proceeds of sale. So there is a a legal disagreement that they're trying to resolve, and once that's resolved, we'll be able to move forward.
But there wasn't a contingency on the legal dispute. The township agreed to give the money to the CIC with no contingency. Why hasn't that money been transferred?
Because it's earning interest for the township, probably. I don't know. I mean,
I don't know either. That's why I'm asking. Board?
good thing for us to do. It's prudent fiscal management.
Board, were you aware that that money hadn't been transferred out of the fund yet?
We've approved the transfer of it.
They authorized the transfer, and it's.
I just wondered if they knew it hadn't gone through yet.
I'm okay in the meantime with it not transferring.
I'm okay with keeping any of our funds in whatever interest-bearing accounts they can be in.
Okay. Social media policy, how's that coming along, Mr. Unger?
Mr. Weckbach?
We have a draft. What we're planning on doing is bringing forward anything that is not an absolute time-sensitive policy in November and December for a first reading, and hopefully a final vote in December and approval of all of our township policies.
Okay, great. And I wanted to know, Heather, are you aware that we paid James Love twice in the month of August?
I'm not. I can certainly look into that.
Okay, great. We paid him twice. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Benita, I just now see that you wrote a time on your thing when you got here. Are you still here? Oh, come on up, please.
How you doing, Benita? Good. You're in good company with Brenda, I promise.
We're sisters.
Oh, I would have never known.
And we were between the house she spoke about before.
Oh, okay.
I just want to thank Chief Denny. I want you to give a special kudo thanks to Detective Hendricks. Was kind of shocked when I came out my back door and seen the SWAT team surrounding the house next door to me. And I said, "Excuse me, would you identify yourself?" And he went, "Really?" But it's kind of unbearing. You come out your back door to let your dog out,
Yeah.
and somebody's in full SWAT uniform with a 12-gauge shotgun with a scope on it at somebody's back door. So just please apologize to him. I mean, I should have recognized him, but he had on the Men in Black shades, and I was like,
Men in Black.
"Oh my God!" I mean, that's how he had him on.
Did he have his taser and he could make people forget too?
But thank you for all the work. Please tell him thank you. What Brenda had said, we've been through this 1,000 times. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. All I want to know is we took her to house court. She didn't show up. There's a capias on her. She's never going to run a red light. She's never going to speed. She's 80 years old. She lives in Mainville. What happens now? What's the next process? Because no matter how much pictures we give you, if Mr. Unger goes out and looks at it, what happens to our property value? We have to know what's the next step. This has been going on for 2 years. So you brought her to house court. She didn't show up, which we told the code enforcement, we told Chris, we know she's not going to show up. What's the next step? Just sit there and let her keep collecting garbage and keep collecting more stuff? We have to, as a township, okay, as a process, I know there's a process, but what is the next step?
She needs to go to court.
But you're not going to get her in court.
Okay. I mean, that's the next step. You asked me, I'm not trying to be facetious.
No, I know you're not.
That's literally the next step.
So, okay, she's not been cited back into court, so.
She has a capias.
Yeah, she has a capias, we know.
Big deal for like trash in your yard.
Yeah,
There's
that's
a
the
warrant
most serious.
out for your arrest, right?
Okay, but a capias, according to what Chief Denny said, if she's pulled over for a traffic violation, they won't arrest her, they'll just re-cite her into court.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say it happens. Let's say she gets speeding and we catch her in Colerain Township, we re-cite her into court. She's not going to show up again. Then we do another capias. When does it end? I mean, when does we come bring it to a halt?
Is there some point where we just send in forces to just clean up the yard?
Like the SWAT team?
No, not the SWAT team. Like we've done on one or two other houses.
I think we did this in Sheed and Gaines.
Right.
Sheed and Gaines.
I don't.
You know, if
how
that's
far are we off from doing that process?
If that's a very, very, I think we should.
There's a policy discussion that needs to be had about property rights and what the pleasure of the board is in property rights. And so we can be incredibly
on properties and take them back.
Aggressive with property rights. I mean, we can have that conversation. But the fact of the matter is that we have prosecuted a case in court that resulted in a warrant being issued for someone's arrest for having garbage in their yard. And so that's where we're at right now.
Okay, but the added factor to that is, and he can to say that I'm not making this up, they arrested a residence in that residence for meth. He's a known drug dealer. So not only was the SWAT team, the same day, it was so ironic, the day she was supposed to appear in court, she didn't show up. And she don't live there, her daughter lives there. She now knows that her son's in jail in the Justice Center for meth.
Oh.
So not only do we have a junk pile, we have a known meth dealer. So at some point, we have to, as a township, say, and there was a law a long time ago, in 1978 or 79, we got rid of a person down at the end of Chestwood. They were selling pot out of the house, and they were big drug dealers. It's called a no good neighbor law. There's some kind of law that when you get so many police reports on you, you're drug dealing, you get the SWAT team on you, there at some point, you as a township can do something to get rid of her, to make her sell the property. Or I don't even care if she sells the property. Get rid of your daughter, the renter, that's causing this big problem. And I don't know, what more do you want? They were selling drugs. I mean, they were selling drugs, and we had a SWAT team. We had 12 police officers, 3 police cars, the SWAT team, people with scopes on their guns at this house. So it's not like sorry about the guy that left. I'm not talking about flat tires here. This is what we're dealing with. And at some point, you as a township have to make some kind of resolution, because what's going to happen is we're going to cite her into court in October. She's not going to show up. We're going to put another capias on her. Then we're going to cite her into January. Then we're going to put a capias on her. It's a moot point. And I feel bad for the woman. She's 80 years old. She lives out in Mainville. She's not right with it. The daughter's lying to her. The daughter's not telling her what's going on. So it's really not the poor woman's fault and her husband. It's the renter, her daughter, and her grandson. Okay, we beat that dead
Real
horse.
quick. If someone can refresh me here, if we remediate an issue, put a lien on the property, how do we recoup that money, assuming that we are a first lien holder, which almost every time I'm sure we wouldn't be?
It goes on the tax bill.
When we abate, like a trash abatement, like we did on Sheed Road, we put an assessment on the taxes, meaning that if we get it in by September 30th of the prior year, it's on the January tax bill. If they don't pay their taxes, then we would go through tax foreclosure.
Foreclosure, that's what I'm getting at.
You know,
Perfect.
in the length of time that takes.
Do we know anything about this property, if we're anywhere near that being potential? I know that's extreme, just like a capias would be, but I'm just trying to see.
I don't have the specific information
She
on that.
paid cash for the house, and she's...
Well, good, then there's no liens on it,
Yeah,
other than
there's
ours,
no
so
liens on
we
it.
could be a
And
first lien holder,
She
right?
probably is a good mother, pays the taxes on it. I'm sure she does that for her daughter. Okay, we beat that dead horse to death. Okay, schools. I was at the school board meeting last week. No, you two don't need to listen to this.
Go sit down, guys.
When Ritter and Enderhees were here 2 years ago, who made the decision to close off John Rose, number one? Why wasn't there a buy-in between the Board of Education and the township when the CMHA project was being built, that this is not going to work for the safety of our kids going to the new Struble School? And who made the decision? I know
that was before me as well, actually. I don't know who one of them made that decision. I don't know. No, I wasn't. I know that there were traffic studies that weren't done. That the timing of that was just was unprecedented. I mean, what are the odds that you're going to close down a road, build a new housing complex, and double the size of your school at the same time, already having an existing issue with a county road traffic count? So it was a perfect storm, as far as I can tell, and the township was willing to step up. And what was it, Jeff? 350,000?
Yeah, the board's telling me that 350,000 is going to be coming out of trustees, the township, and they say they're putting up another 350. But they said at the board meeting last night that the township, they didn't say any of you guys, the township went in with CMHA and said, we can do this for you guys. We don't need this road. I just want you to know, like Carrie said before, these women were standing up there crying. I mean, tears because of how horrible it is. There's been an altercation, men jumping out of their car, fist fighting, going into school, which my grandkids have witnessed.
Because of the traffic at the new school?
Yeah, because they can only come in banning the memory to John
Right,
Rose.
and
then you double the size of the school, so now you got parents that live up on this side that don't want to wait for the bus because of all the bus nutsiness, so they're driving the kids into school. So it's just, I wanted to know who did,
Yeah.
and I knew you two guys.
I
were
would,
here.
having been on the school board just prior to all that, they had the option of purchasing property of the Providence Hospital property and building the school there. And the elected school board made a decision to put it back in that constrictive neighborhood, so.
Huge mistake,
Yeah.
which they already know.
Yeah, I mean, the buildings are nice. I went to all 3 ribbon cuttings, but they decided to put it back there in a sort of landlocked area, and that's where it's going to be for the next 30 to 40
They
years.
certainly got an issue on their hands, and they're well aware of it. And I know, I talk to the school board members regularly, and they're all very aware. They have to come up with a solution. It's unfortunate, it's their issue. We did offer to help to a degree, but it is their issue. So
okay.
And we're going to crunch this last rumor for the last time so everybody can hear this, because I just got on Facebook and it's running again. Greg Insco, will you please say on live camera, the CMHA building on John Rose is only going to have 100% occupants. No adult kids, no grandkids, no everybody has to be 55
or older. Yeah.
Older. Because on Facebook they're saying that's not allowed in the state of Ohio to run a senior citizen center. That it's rampant. They're going
CMHA
crazy.
is regulated by the state of. I mean, I don't know where these rumors come from sometimes, but yeah, it's 55 and up. It's 55 and up. What more can I say? It's 55 and up.
We're going to move on. Carrie, we're an hour and 40 minutes into our thing.
And we still have a citizen's address at the end of the meeting, too.
You got 15 seconds. What is it?
You're wrong. I talked to the manager of the program yesterday.
Yeah, can you
Please come to the mic.
We can't.
But Carrie, I asked everybody to stay within the time frame, and several of you did. And we've got a whole agenda worth of items here.
I know, just
But
so
I've
much
never cut anybody off,
misinformation.
so go ahead.
I spoke to the management yesterday. The rule is 55, one person who is 55 and older must be in each unit, and they can have anybody in their family group they want. So there is a little misinformation being given to you.
I was told they cannot have their kids or grandkids. They can't take them in. So
They told me the opposite.
well,
And
somebody told us
We
wrong.
have a guy at CMHA that Jeff can contact and get some clarity on that.
something on the school thing,
Okay.
I just want you to know at the board meeting, they dogged the heck out of you guys and said
That's
you
fine.
guys stuck them with this turnaround cost. It was very mean-spirited.
Turnaround cost.
To widen the road or something so they can turn around. But you guys,
The
if you.
former board's throwing 350 grand into it. How's
I
it sticking
hear
them?
you. I hear you. Misinformation was thrown out all over the place
Okay,
yesterday.
thank you, Carrie.
But-
Thank you very much. Okay, so that ends our citizens' address at 1 hour and 42 minutes for 15 people, but this board is committed to hearing what people have to say. So we'll move on to the next item, which is administrative reports.
Thank you, Mr. Unger. We'll start our administrative reports with our fire department and Chief Cook.
Okay, Board. First item administratively is a report of our emergency incident activity for the month of August. We responded to 755 emergency medical incidents, 162
Here in
fire.
the back. Could you, I don't know if is your mic going?
It's on.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So during the month of August, we responded to 755 emergency medical incidents, 162 fire-related incidents, and then 25 responses into the contracted area of Springfield Township. One significant fire incident occurred in August, and that was a building fire in the 6700 block of Schuster Court. The house was a total loss, with both residents on either side of the home suffering damage. Total fire loss reported for the month was approximately $76,600. Our incident response time for the month was, on average, we received from the time we received the call at the fire stations, we were able to arrive on scene 5 minutes and 15 seconds. First unit on the scene in less than 6 minutes occurred about 70% of the time. So just a performance measure that I just wanted the board to be aware of. Second item is during late spring, the board approved the liquidation of surplus vehicles in the township by means of GovDeals, an internet auction site. Okay, so in July, the Fleet Maintenance Division liquidated 15 various surplus fire, police, and public services vehicles by means of the internet auction. Total revenue received from the sale to the township was $43,595.51. And then the last item, this morning, Captain Christopher Hopkins was recognized with the department's Firefighter of the Year award during the Chamber of Commerce Appreciation Breakfast. In addition, the department was gifted with 5 $50 Kroger gift cards, one for each fire station from the Chamber for recognition of the State of Ohio's EMS Agency of the Year awarded earlier this year to the department. That's all.
Thank you, Chief.
Very good. Chief Denny?
For August, the police department responded to 4,086 calls for service, so they averaged about 131 calls per day. Took 60 hit-skip auto accident reports, 283 traffic stops, 237 vehicle crashes, and 33 of those included injuries. There were 237 traffic citations. They made 10 DUI arrests, responded to 227 false alarm calls, and responded to all calls with under 5 minutes 62% of the time. Made 226 arrests, signed 30 new cases to our criminal investigation unit, and there were 9 detective call-outs in the off hours. And this morning, the Chamber awarded Detective Mike Stockmeyer from the Police Department the Officer of the Year Award, so very proud of him, and we thank him for their support.
Congratulations to Mike.
Very good. Director LeCount from Planning and Zoning.
A couple of quick numbers for you on the enforcement of things. We took in 251 complaints in the month of August. 130 of those were for tall grass and weeds. Looks like we abated about 22, we abated 22 properties in August and sent 8 along to the law director for court action, so 8 new cases in our log for housing court. We had a report of 20 vacant properties in the township in the month of August. We continue to collect those and attempt to make contact with the owners of those properties to get them on the registry. There were a large number of bank foreclosures initiated in the township last month, so we'll be running those down as well. And we're about 74% on our permitting as of now. We issued 56 permits last month. I anticipate that we will kind of drop off towards the end of the year on the permitting. We tend to do that as the months get a little colder. On the long-range end of things, before you this evening will be the Land Use Committee appointments, and should you approve those appointments, we will be looking to hold their first meeting later this month. Sidewalks. I know there's been a lot of discussion about the prioritization of new sidewalks with funds from the Sidewalk Fund. We are anticipating holding a public meeting, open house style, before next month's regularly scheduled Board of Trustees meeting to try and gauge a little bit of feedback. Staff has done some work on working through some gap analysis and then some priority areas where we think are good areas to possibly spend some of those funds.
Is that the first October meeting then?
That's what we're planning to do, yes, sir.
What time would that be?
The time, we're right now planning between 6 and 7 p.m. It's not completely official, but we'll make sure we'll get the notification out there via Circle and other forms as soon as we have that kind of buttoned up a bit. And then you should be soon seeing from us an energy plan that I know you're aware that we received a grant last year to begin work on part of the comprehensive plan, the energy plan element of the comprehensive plan. We're nearing completion of that portion, so you'll be seeing that in the coming months as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin, do you have anything in your report revolving around me? Because I really need to use the restroom. Forgive me.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Mr. Schwartzoff in the Public Services Department.
I've just a couple items. As of last week, we finished our final route of our sweeping. So we started back on Route 3 this week. So we've done 9 routes. We're going to start again to do Route 3 started Monday. And Recycle Day is September 29th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And that takes place here in the administration complex parking lots.
And what type of materials will you accept?
It's all online, the types we take. We take non-recycled materials also.
You take paint?
Yes.
Okay.
As long as you've put it, like some sort of a drying agent in it, or open the cans up so it's not liquid.
Okay.
You can put something in there to make it hard, like catnip or something.
Bring it to you.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Jeff Weichbach, administration.
I want to thank you for your remarkable work helping Colerain Avenue beautification, conjunction with the ODOT. And I saw the street sweepers doing the side street along the Colerain Avenue. There was a lot of volunteers were there. Jeff was there picking up trash on the 275 along this side. It was very successful project, and thank you for coordinating, helping us to do that.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Kevin. Jeff Weichbach in administration.
Sure. Two small items of note. So we've been moving forward on a lot of our transparency technology projects, one of which is our civic clerk software, which is intended to modernize and create some efficiencies for our agendas and minutes. So Heather, I hope the minutes are going well on your end using the new software. It's sort of our dry run this time around with just the trustees meeting. And so next step will then be to modernize our next set of meetings. So I don't know if anybody opened up the PDF attachment that went out, but now there are all these great bookmarks that can take you directly to, even the exact contract as opposed to reading everything else in the agenda before you get to it. So hopefully that makes it easier on the user as well as I know it's made it easier on all of us. So that's a tremendous improvement. The other item of note is our budget software, which is part of our performance dashboards as well. So staff is currently actively engaged in using our new budget software to put in their proposals for next year, and we're going to be using that throughout it. And hopefully by next month we'll be transitioned to start looking at our performance dashboard, what data should be out there, how we can best organize it in a way to tell our story a little better. So just two small items.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Just a couple of items on my end. I just wanted to reiterate what a great event it was this morning with the Chambers Police and Fire Appreciation Breakfast. Detective Stockmeyer and Captain Hopkins are just top notch. We're lucky to have them, and it's great that we have an opportunity to recognize them as we did this morning. We had an incredible event last Friday where we cut the ribbon on West Union Square, which is a senior housing facility on John Rose that we've heard a little bit about tonight. Board, I can tell you, I don't know if there's a project in my career that I'm more proud of than West Union Square. I mean, we went from homes that and apartment buildings that were just atrocious. I mean, third world atrocious, to something that we can all be proud of. I mean, that building is just incredible. And I believe in 2013, if I'm not mistaken, we had 3 murders in the township. 2 of them happened on that block, right? So if you ask me, I'd rather it take a little bit longer to get out of school than have my kids walk past, houses that we actually got from the DEA because they seized them in an investigation on pill mills. I mean, let's not forget what was there before. It was bad, and it's better now. In fact, it's great, and so I'm really proud of that. The other thing that I wanted to mention, and thank Kevin and Tawana Moulter for their work on, is the Eyes of Freedom Memorial that was here this weekend. I was really disappointed that the weather was so poor. It rained all weekend, but it was a really moving demonstration of our commitment to veterans and remembering some pretty unbelievable sacrifices that company in particular made, but that all veterans make, and especially on a day like today, it's a pretty moving event. And Kevin, thanks for putting that on. Thank you, board, for supporting it. And that's all I have today. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff. I wonder if, in order to get this public hearing, if the trustees would favor moving the trustee reports back so anybody that's here for the public hearing can.
Larry, no issues with doing that?
We need a motion to amend the agenda to do that?
No.
Okay, so we'll come back to that, and let's just go ahead with the public hearing, Jeff.
Okay, very good. This evening we have a public hearing on a zoning case, and the public hearing will be led by Director LeCounte.
Thank you. Get myself back in order here. All right, before you this evening is a public hearing regarding case ZA 2013-0003, Sanctuary Point Nursing and Rehab Facility located at 11501 Hamilton Avenue. This is a major modification request to a preliminary development plan. It's actually a pretty simple request before you this evening. It's basically a lot split that came through, but because this is a planned district and this will actually increase technically the density on one parcel of this development, it is back before you as a modification to a preliminary development plan. As you're aware, with a preliminary development plan, it is always followed up by a final development plan, which has far more detail than the preliminary plan typically does. The request is to increase the permitted beds per acre from 10.9 to 17.5 and parcel off the northern portion of this as a separate lot for future development. You can see the location of this on the aerial here. It is at the southwest corner of the intersection of Hamilton Avenue and Crest Road. The current zoning on the property is planned development residential. It is almost entirely surrounded by residential uses, except for just to the north. It is currently utilized as a nursing home facility, and then again, that vacant portion of the lot to the north. This is oriented, you can see on the screen it's a little fuzzy, but this is now oriented where we are, north is to the right here. And you can essentially see this lot split from what you're looking at there is the originally approved final development plan, and that red dashed line indicating where that lot would split apart. The entire parcel currently sits at just over 11 acres. The newly created parcel would be just under 4 acres, 3.82 acres, with a 7.08 acre parcel remaining. That does increase that density of the existing development from 10.9 to 17.5. I'm not sure if the applicant is here tonight to discuss this with you, but the reasoning for the request is that they are currently going through a refinancing, and so they need to be able to articulate their density in that refinancing so that they can, in the future, potentially develop that northern portion of the property, which back in 2013, when originally approved, was designated for a future development area. So that would remain. This might be a better way to look at this. Is actually looking west, Hamilton Avenue running left to right there across the bottom of the screen looking west. So on the right side of that screen, this is an older bird's eye view of this property, but you can see the vacant portion of that property to the north. Any future development plan would need to be reviewed through a major modification process, meaning that it will go Hamilton County Regional Planning Commission, Colerain Township Zoning Commission, and then again in front of this Board of Trustees, and then as a final development plan back in front of the Zoning Commission. So tonight you're really just essentially approving a lot split if you choose to adopt the resolution. On August 2nd, 2018, the Regional Planning Commission unanimously voted to approve with conditions, as did the Colerain Township Zoning Commission on August 21st. So their recommendation to you was for the resolution for case number ZA 2013-0003, Sanctuary Point, approval of a major modification to a preliminary development plan subject to the following conditions. One, that all conditions approved as part of case Colerain ZA 2013-003 shall remain in effect for the subject site, including the approved landscape plan. 2, that a major modification to the preliminary development plan be required for any future development on the remaining vacant parcel. And 3, that the proposed development be permitted at a maximum density of 17.5 beds per acre, where 7 units or beds per acre is permitted. So the request before you this evening is approval of the resolution that was in your packet, and then I believe we need to have a public hearing on the matter.
In that order?
We need a motion
You need-
to
I'm sorry.
open the public
I would motion that we open the public hearing for matter ZA 2013-0003, Sanctuary Point Nursing and Rehab, 11501 Hamilton Avenue.
I'll offer a second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Heather, please call for a vote.
Mr. Inscoe?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Rundgren?
Aye. So now we would ask if there's anyone here that wants to speak to the issue?
Yes, if anybody here wants to testify in the public hearing, please rise. Okay, seeing no one, I guess.
Seeing no one, so
A motion to close the public hearing?
I would motion that we have given all a chance to speak, and so I would motion that we would close the public hearing for the aforementioned case.
I'll offer a second to close the public hearing.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Heather, please call for a vote.
Mr. Inskeal?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye. The hearing is closed. So the next item is the actual motion.
The recommendation from staff is approval of the resolution.
And do we want Heather or Jenna to read the title of that?
So I can do that as soon as I find the resolution.
Hey, Jeff. Try and see if they were here for that and they didn't.
Jenna, I have it right here.
Do you have it?
I do.
Thank you.
It's case number ZA 2013-03, Sanctuary Point, approval of a major modification to a preliminary development plan, parcel number 510-0021-0367.
It's 0376
0376, yes.
510-0021-0376.
Yes.
Okay. And I would motion that we would approve such a thing.
I second it.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Heather, please call for a vote.
Mr. Inskeal?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Wonderful. Here is the resolution for your signature.
And Jeff, so that would close that part of the meeting, and we'll move on to our next item, Mr. Mills.
Sure. Did you want to go back to trustee reports, or do you want to move?
We'll get this other business done so we can keep our
Very good.
20 after 9 already.
Very good. The next set of new business items are in public safety. We'll begin with fire and Chief Cook.
We have 3 items for the board to consider this evening. First one being a request authorization to accept a gift card donation from the Northwest Local School District Transportation Office in appreciation for services provided during an emergency incident in August of this year. That's a $50. That's a
I would
$50.
motion that we would accept those.
I'll offer a second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Not for mine.
Raj? None. Hearing none, Heather, please call for a vote.
Mr. Inskeal?
Thank you. Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The second item is recommend the adoption of a motion authorizing the disposal of 9 surplus vehicles per the recommendation of the township's fleet manager. Provided in the packet is a list of vehicles that were taken out of service for either mechanical and or other issues that will not allow the vehicles to operate in a safe manner or are no longer needed to conduct township business.
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second. It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Heather, please call for a vote.
Mr. Inskeal?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Okay, and the last item is recommend adoption of a motion to conditionally hire the following candidates as part-time fire department employees at the specified hourly rates. Peter Lavaz, firefighter emergency medical technician, $14.50 per hour, and Andrew Farrell, firefighter EMT, $14.50 per hour. These 2 candidates, recommended candidates, are replacement for part-time firefighter EMT employees that have recently separated from the department. The hiring of these 2 candidates will be contingent upon successful completion of all applicable pre-employment evaluations and procedures. Their start date will be effective as soon as possible after Sunday, October the 7th, 2018, following compliance of the aforementioned conditions with a 1-year probationary period.
I would motion for such a thing.
I'll offer a second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Not for mine.
Hearing none, Heather, please call for a vote.
Mr. Inskeal?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Thank you, board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Chief Tenian, please.
Trustee Unger, I'd like to ask the board to amend the agenda for an item.
I would motion that we would amend the agenda for another police item.
I'll offer a second.
The motion to amend the agenda has been offered and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Heather, please call for a vote.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye. The agenda is amended for your next motion.
Thank you. I suggest a motion that Brandon Ellis be placed upon unpaid leave for 30 days, beginning upon the expiration of his paid time off with benefits to be extended until the expiration of his unpaid leave.
I'll make the motion.
And I will, go ahead, Raj.
I second it.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Heather, please call for a vote.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Next item is request to accept a donation, recommend approval of a motion to accept a donation of furnishings from Furniture Fair valued at $1,500. They donated some furnishings for the police department's new briefing room.
Nice. I'll make that motion.
And I'll second it. It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Just offer my thank yous on that one.
And thank you to our local furniture store. And I actually was back there and saw it a couple weeks ago. It was very nice.
Very nice.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, Heather, please call for a vote.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Final item is recommend adoption of a motion authorizing the purchase of a canine kennel from Law Dog Castle in the amount of $6,500. This is for our canine officer, Brian Huntington, and his canine Teo for his ability to keep him in a safe location when Brian can't be there to take care of him or he's around other people or other animals.
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second it. It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Furniture store doesn't have anything
I
like
think
that.
I think that price includes the installation and
It's
everything,
everything.
and that dog has a very high value,
Yes,
and
very.
it's great to preserve that asset. The dog does a lot of work for us and doesn't get paid for it. So.
That's true.
Chief,
He's
is it
paid.
safe for the winter time, during the
Yeah.
winter?
He's able to be in there for a certain amount of hours. It's not an overnight type kennel, but for 5 or 6 hours, it would be a safe place for him to be.
Is there any other discussion?
Good question, Raj.
Hearing none, Heather, please call for a vote.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you, Chief. Next, we have new business from Public Services. Director Schwartzop.
Thank you, Jeff. My first item is recommend a motion to accept the donation of a flood pole and informational signage to be installed at the Heritage Park. The Colerain Historical Society is donating a pole and signage to the township and will be arranging a group of volunteers to install the pole and sign. The flood pole will be historical in value for Colerain Township and visitors to the park, as it will notate the water height of the 1913 and 1959 floods. Colerain Township will maintain the pole in the future.
I'll proudly make that motion.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Thank you you guys are, the Historical Society is amazing. They never seem to fail to amaze me. Now I just can't wait to see what's next. So congrats.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Heather, please call for a vote.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
A second is a motion to execute a contract with AY Mills for Senior Center Community Development Block Grant Project. I recommend the adoption of a motion to award the contract 18.5 for the renovation of the Senior Center to AY Mills building, who was the lowest bidder that met the criteria set out in bid specifications. The bid was $49,880. We previously received a $50,000 Community Development Block Grant for renovations of the Senior Center kitchen, restrooms, flooring, and doors. We received 3 quotes for the project. The bids were reviewed by ABG Architecture, who recommends that the township award the contract to the low bidder, AY Mills Building. Community Development Block Grant Office concurs with this awarding contract to AY Mills Buildings.
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second it. It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Are you satisfied 3 bids was enough bids on something like this?
That's what they required. We did send out to about 7 different contractors. We got 3 back, but we needed at least 3.
That's what I needed to hear. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, Heather, please call for a vote.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear who offered the second.
I believe Dan did.
Yes, I did.
Excellent.
I believe so.
If not, he just I offered first. I know that.
Okay.
That I had.
I seconded. Raj didn't.
No. All right. Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye. Next item.
I recommend approval of a motion to accept the donation of $840 from Peach Grove Animal Hospital. Peach Grove Animal Hospital is donating $840 for the purchase of 2 dog hurdles for the dog park at Heritage Park.
I'll make the motion.
I second.
It's been motioned by Greg and seconded by Raj. Is there any discussion?
I just want to reflect what Stephanie was saying earlier about Peach Grove Animal Hospital, and a giant thank you. So thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, Heather, please call for a vote.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
And my final item is to hire a seasonal maintenance worker. I recommend the adoption of a motion to hire Thomas Bosarge as a seasonal maintenance worker effective September 11th, 2018 at a rate of $15 per hour. Many of our seasonal maintenance workers have had to return to school, leaving a labor shortage in our Parks and Roads division. Tom Bosarge had over 13 years experience working in park facilities and has experience as a certified arborist. Tom will be working 24 hours a week until November 16th, 2018.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I think Tom holds the record for most times hired. I think I've hired him 20 times at this point. So yeah, that's an easy one.
I've retired.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, Heather, please call for a vote.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartzoff. And now we have new business from the Planning and Zoning Department and Director LeCount.
First item is requested approval of a resolution declaring nuisance and ordering abatement. It's recommended the adoption of a resolution to remove uncontrolled vegetation and or refuse at the listed properties. This resolution is recommended to allow the trustees to abate and assess properties with Ohio Revised Code nuisance violations. Mr. Unger, did you want me to read the addresses?
Yes, we've had a request for that, so if you could please read them so people know what addresses we're talking about.
3447 Alamosa, 2585 Ambassador, 2478 Birthbrook, 2538 Birthbrook, 10679 Breeds Hill, 2891 Hyannis, 2586 Impala, 3 unnumbered parcels on Island View, 2832 John Rose, 2808 Klondike, 8251 Livingston, 7050 Newbridge, 10073 Pippin, 2421 Roosevelt, 6587 Sheed, and 11490 Swissvale.
Thank you, Jenna. I would motion that we declare nuisance and ordering abatement of those properties.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Heather, please call for a vote.
This is the resolution declaring nuisance and ordering abatement. Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
And Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Here's the resolution for your signature.
Thank you. Second item is recommended approval of a motion to appoint the individuals listed in your packet for service on the Colerain Township Comprehensive Plan Land Use Committee. A total of 8 volunteer applications were received for the 7 voting positions identified in the Comprehensive Plan Land Use Committee bylaws, which were adopted by the Board of Trustees at their regular August 2018 board meeting. Of the 8 applications received, only 6 individuals met the qualification for appointment to the committee. Staff's recommendation is to appoint the following individuals to the Comprehensive Plan Land Use Committee. Neighborhood Representatives Gary Henson, Rose Spiker, and Amanda Beckman. Board of Zoning Appeals Representative Mr. Tom Reininger. Zoning Commission Representative Mark Faring, and the Development Community Representative Craig Abercrombie. This recommendation does leave the 1 vacant position for the Pleasant Run Neighborhood Representative. This vacant position will remain open until filled by an appointment of this board. The purpose of this committee is to identify appropriate land use policies and the creation of an updated land use plan to be included in the Township Comprehensive Plan. Additionally, a motion is recommended to appoint Trustee Insco as the non-voting trustee member of the Comprehensive Plan Land Use Committee.
That'll be a separate motion.
I don't believe that it has to be, but it can be if you...
I think it would be better if it was. That way Greg can vote on the original motion. So I would motion that we approve to the first 5 paragraphs of this that you just described and read, except for the appointment of Trustee Insco. Do I have a second?
Can I offer a second on that? Or,
yeah, because you're going to be
on the
separate.
second, I would.
Okay, so it's been motioned by Dan and seconded by Greg. Is that okay, Larry?
Yes.
Okay. And is there any discussion?
Only discussion on the vacant. We only had one person apply for the Pleasant Run area, correct?
And she's not a resident of the township.
Okay. My recommendation would be to the other two board members at least to consider Matt Tietzort for that position. I don't believe I can vote on that though, so that's my 2 cents.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, Heather, please call for a vote on everything but the last sentence.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye. Now, I would recommend that we appoint Trustee Insco as the non-voting trustee member of the Comprehensive Plan Land Use Committee. So I motion for that.
A second.
So it's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion? And I would just ask, is it better for Greg to abstain from that?
I think you probably should abstain.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, Heather, please call for a vote.
Mr. Insco?
Abstain.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Thank
So
you.
Trustee Insco is appointed as the non-voting trustee member. Okay, Jenna.
Thank you. And the last item I have for you this evening is recommended approval of a motion to set a public hearing for a major modification to a final development plan case number ZA 2006-007, Triple Creek Nursing Facility on October 9th, 2018 at 7 p.m. The Colerain Township Zoning Commission is expected to make a recommendation on the major modification to an FDP for Triple Creek Nursing Facility at their September 18th, 2018 regular meeting. This major modification would require a public hearing to be held in front of this Board of Trustees within 30 days of that recommendation.
I would motion to set a public hearing date.
For a second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion? So that date again is September
18th, I'm sorry, October 9th, 2018, 7 p.m.
October meeting, our regular meeting. Okay, so I would motion that we would have that October 9th.
I'll second the motion. I have it.
Motion, October 9th.
October 9th, thank you.
It's been motioned and seconded to have it October 9th. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Heather, please call for a vote.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. LeCount.
Jeff, I'm going to ask if, at this point in the meeting, our department heads are welcome to stay. If your business is completed, we expect you to be on your game first thing in the morning. I don't want to keep you here till 11 o'clock, so if any of you would like to depart, you may. If you want to stay, you're welcome to hang out with us.
Mark, do you know where that Christmas card is, by chance? I don't know where it got circulated. If you see it on the way out, maybe just...
Okay, and then we will continue with the...
Oh, you have it? Thank you so much. Thank you.
We will... Is that all right, Jeff, what I just did?
Yes, that's
Okay,
fantastic.
great.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you need these...
I think he wants to go too. Is there
No.
any excuse? Is that appropriate?
No, that's fine. I just want to keep things moving. Keep things moving here.
Talk about
Okay.
favoritism.
So go ahead, Jeff, with our next item.
Great. We had the opportunity to discuss this.
Okay, right.
Great. So we had the opportunity to discuss the next item a little bit before, but the next item is a motion to authorize the execution of a contract with Judy & Co. LLC for the purchase of right-of-way for the Banning Turn Lane project. We talked about how the Colerain Township trustees agreed to share the cost of the adding a turn lane on Banning Road to the tune of not to exceed $350,000. What we have on the agenda is a contract that authorizes the purchase of this property. But my recommendation tonight...
Table that until we resolve the other issue with the contract. So,
yes, thanks.
Is there a motion to table that?
I'll make the motion to table that.
I second it.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion? Then you'll bring that back at the next meeting, perhaps?
Yes, sir.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, Heather, please call for a vote on the motion to table item A.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Very good. The next two items, Board, relate to the cost of water in Colerain Township. There has always, well, since 1987, Colerain, Hamilton County has had a contract with the city of Cincinnati for the provision of water. That contract expired very recently. In that contract, there was a provision that required the city of Cincinnati and Hamilton County 2 years prior to the expiration of the contract to set up a negotiating team, a task force that would review what the price of water should be for Hamilton County residents. Unfortunately, the city of Cincinnati did not negotiate in good faith for the new contract and for the price of water, and so as a result, Hamilton County Prosecutor's Office sued the city of Cincinnati, asking for initially last week a temporary restraining order, and tomorrow they will ask for a preliminary and permanent injunction requiring the city to come back to the table and negotiate this price. Because what's happened is the city of Cincinnati has told the county, we are going to charge you 143% more for your water than we charge
As a township resident.
As a township resident, than we charge our city residents, ratepayers. And the position of the county has always been, if it costs more to service us, okay, but demonstrate that the cost to serve us is more expensive, and specifically that it is 43% more expensive to serve us, because there are situations where they charge cities outside of the city of Cincinnati, for example, 1.25 or 125% of the cost of city of Cincinnati ratepayers, but it flows through a township to get there, right? So it's just, it doesn't make any sense. And so the next two items have to do with fighting for township ratepayers to have a fair price for water. The first item is a resolution determining to intervene in litigation between the Board of County Commissioners of Hamilton County and the City of Cincinnati. What this means is we are going in, throwing our support behind the county's effort in this preliminary and permanent injunction hearing that happens tomorrow. If you approve it, we will do everything that we can to file that motion tomorrow morning before the hearing at 2 o'clock.
I would motion that we would approve such a thing.
I'll offer a second.
Been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion?
And the resolution is called a resolution determining to intervene in litigation between the Board of County Commissioners of Hamilton County, Ohio, and the City of Cincinnati, Ohio, over water rates and dispensing with a second reading.
And I would just say that in simple terms, if you live in the city, you're paying a multiplier of 1.0. Up till now, you're paying a multiplier of 1.25 of a city bill to have water service in the township, and the city of Cincinnati wants to raise that to 1.43, which will drive our water cost up significantly, especially for any water-intensive business or water-intensive. It's going to, have them go locate somewhere else, and water is the most critical function. And the city has just gotten themselves into a lot of the pension funds failing. They've got all sorts of problems, and I think they're trying to pass that off on the townships through increasing water rates so they can divert money and move it around. And I just wholeheartedly support the determination to intervene. Is there any other discussion?
Yes. It is a great, the union among the townships. I think like Dan mentioned about city cannot even, they are verge of spending all the money on the street cars and everything else. And actually what I'm hearing is the cities, the water system, the sewage, the drainage system is almost on the verge of collapsing. Whereas
financially,
the township got pretty much a newer system, newer drainage system, the water system, and they want to. Only way they can recover money is, pounding on the township. I think all the township in the Hamilton County did a great job, joined together, filed a lawsuit with the county, and we got the temporary injections. We met about last week, all the township trustees. Me and Dan Hunger was there. Jeff was there.
Informational session.
Informational
There was no
session.
discussion, Raj.
And
Very clear, Dan.
yeah, it's an informational session. It's not any decision making. I think this is great thing that we are fighting against the city. We don't need to pay. They can pound on the township to pay more money for the water usage.
Is there any other discussion?
Are you still going, Raj? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Are you?
I'm done.
Oh, you're done? Okay. Well, I'll just briefly say, Raj kind of took the words out of my mouth. I really want to commend Dan and Raj and Jeff for going to that meeting. You have no idea, as a third of a board, how much I appreciate other board members showing up and doing these other events, because I can't make every event. I can't be in two places at once. So thank you guys for going above and beyond and looking out for your community and really all townships. So as a fellow board member, thank you. Thank you for representing us.
There was probably 20 different township
excellent
trustees represented from Sycamore
That's
and
good.
Anderson.
That's
and,
good. But we had the two best from Colerain.
Township administrators, and it's very informational. David Rager, the former director of the Waterworks, explained everything, and we're going to be in a bad way if that 1.43% multiplier is ultimately implemented. And they sell water. Cincinnati Waterworks sells water to Butler County for less than they are willing to sell it to us. So, is there any other discussion? Hearing none, Heather, please call for a vote.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Thank you, Board. The second way that we can work to protect our township water ratepayers against this crazy price is by looking around and seeing if anybody else can provide us with water. I mean, Cincinnati isn't the only game in town, and so are there other options? And so the idea is to form a Hamilton County-wide task force that would look at all of our options for providing water to our residents. And so the recommendation is to approve a resolution that appoints Jeff Mills, me, and Raj Rajagopal to the Hamilton County Water District Task Force.
I will proudly make that motion.
And I will second it. And is it proper for Raj to vote on it, or should he probably abstain?
You may as well abstain.
If he has his votes to support this. So Heather, I'll ask you to call for a vote. Was there any other discussion, Greg?
No, thank you, Raj, for
Okay.
heading this.
I'll
Thanks,
ask
Greg.
you to call for a vote to appoint Raj and Jeff Mills.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Abstain.
And Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Thank you,
And
Board.
here's that resolution for your signature.
Okay, the next item is something new, but it is something that I think is good government, and that is sharing all of the contracts that we enter into. Even though you've already given me the authority to execute these contracts, I think it's important that you and everyone else is able to see them. So the idea is to create a consent agenda whereby you can approve by motion, one motion's to approve all the items on the consent portion of the agenda. And if there's any conversation that you'd like to have about any one of these, we can pull it out and have that conversation, but this is just a way to get the information out. So the recommendation is for a motion to approve all items on the consent portion of the agenda.
I'll make the motion to approve all items on the consent portion of the
And
agenda.
I'll second it. Is there any discussion? And I would just like to read those items. The contract with Spring Grove Cemetery for the indigent burial or cremation of James DeLoche. A contract with R.H. Meyer Fence Company for the installation of dates at Clifford Park. A contract amendment with Hamilton County for mobile data computers. And a contract with HealthWorks for food shops for employees. So those are the 4 items. You've already executed those because it's within your spending limitation.
Yes.
You would just like approval to.
Yep.
To.
It would be, approval of those contracts.
Okay.
We'll make the motion, then we can have discussion. Is that appropriate here?
The motion was already made by you and then
Perfect.
seconded by Dan.
So now we can.
We've had the discussion. Is there any additional discussion?
That's what I was getting at. Thank you. First of all, with the fence company at Clifford Park, thank you. That's a pretty quick turnaround, considering that was that last month or the month before that we were just talking about it.
It was, but the gentleman that came to our last meeting did the right thing and called us before he came, and so we were able to A, have a conversation with him, and then B, get to work, and if a resident brings a great idea and it makes sense operationally, we'll do that quick. And so we had actually begun work before the trustee brought up the trustee meeting. Yeah.
So loud and clear, if you're watching at home, call us first and we can get a head start on whatever you want us to fix. So thank you for that. The other thing on the indigent burial, I heard you say there's been 8 of them or so a year we average, which I thought was interesting because I believe this is the first I've heard in 2.5 years. So is it just because was it under a super blanket, a large purchase? I mean, was there,
Yeah.
how did I not?
So this is, I think that the cost here was $700 and something dollars. And so when there is a purchase that's made that's less than $2,500, I sign that purchase order. If it's over $2,500, 2 of the 3 of you need to sign that purchase order.
And obviously all 8 of them didn't happen at the same time, so
Right.
it wouldn't have come across our desk on that.
Yep.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Sad, but interesting.
Is there any other discussion on those items? Hearing none, Heather, please call for a vote.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Thank you, board.
Thank you for that. I like the transparency there. That's good stuff.
Fiscal office?
Do you want to go back to trustees' reports first?
No. We can go ahead and do the fiscal
Okay.
office, then we'll do trustee reports.
All right, that's fine. Let's see here. The first thing I wanted to mention was that in response to Mrs. Wright, yes, Mr. Love was paid twice in August because he was not paid at all in July. Just the way, no, please, let me finish. Just the way the invoicing worked out, the July 11th invoice was paid on, looks like 8/10, and then the 8/6 invoice was paid 8/30. So it's just how the billing cookie crumbled with the payments. So yeah, not at all in July, twice in August.
As long as he didn't lose his house, that's all that matters, right? He's good.
So he was
No,
not
and so
double-
he was paid very appropriately, the correct amounts, it just happened to be that, the August 30th payment was
So he was not double paid.
not at all double paid. And then I'd like to ask for the board's usual approval of payroll purchase orders and receipts.
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second it. It's been motioned by Greg and seconded by me. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Heather, please call for a vote.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
And finally, I have a resolution for the board. It's a resolution authorizing the adoption of amended appropriations for the year 2018. We have the need to go to the Budget Commission to both increase and decrease our appropriations for the year. For Fund 2903, the TIF for Colerain Town Center, it is an increase of $78,480.75 to amend the appropriation to that amount for interest payment and estimated tax fees. For Fund 2907, the TIF for Stone Creek, it is a decrease of $8,126.27 to make the amended appropriation $1,743,705.16. 8,250 was reduced due to prior year encumbrance, and $173 is for the estimated tax fees. Fund 2908, the CDBG, we are going to increase that by $14,500 to amend the appropriation, to make the amended appropriation $89,500. This is because we are a sub-recipient of the Hamilton County Laura Linda Grant, which the board approved in September of 2017. And then finally, 2910, the TIF for Best Buy, we're going to increase that by $700 to an amended appropriation of $99,311.92, and that is due to the estimated tax fees.
I would motion that we would approve those changes.
I'll offer a second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion?
You
Hearing
mentioned
none.
about, wait. On the Stone Creek decrease,
Yes.
wait,
We had, since we had the prior year encumbrance, which means the money was set aside last year. So therefore, it's decreasing our amended appropriations for this year.
This decreases the amount spent, not the amount received.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, this is all amount spent. or the authority to spend.
Okay, I see it on here. Is there any other?
What's like a police district, is increase or lower?
It's the same.
It's the same.
Only the ones that what is it, 4 that I mentioned changed.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, Heather, please call for a vote.
Mr. Inska?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
And here's that resolution for your signature as well.
I think it's probably proper to go ahead and have the trustee report, and that way, if there's any questions, that way there'd be an opportunity to ask questions about that. So, how about, are you ready to go on your trustee report, Raj?
Yeah, I'll go. When I got elected, one of my goals is the roads, build the stronger roads, nicer roads. I think 2 months after I got elected, when I joined the trustee, I met with the county engineer, Ted Hubbard, and talked about, building East Miami River Road. And he's very supportive of that. And they started doing this from Kemper Road, I think Colerain, phase 1. Phase 2, they were going to apply for the grant. And the county, this is from Blue Rock Road to all the way to Harrison Avenue, it's East Miami River Road. If anybody driven the East Miami River Road, it's horrible shape. It's very, very bad shape. And it's not safe condition to drive. And I convened the meeting with the county engineer's office. Fred Schlimm, who is administrator for capital improvement and funding coordinator. Jeff Mills was there, and Kevin was there, myself and Fred. We convened downstairs and developed a plan of how we can do this. So the county agreed to they submit the application for the OPWC full funding, and they will do the applications. And what we do is Township has to sign off, be a partner applicant, and it won't cost any money to the Township. And I got the email. You got the email from Fred Slim, and they're ready to go. And as long as we sign off, the county, it's a great project, and I'm excited about that. And like I said, it won't cost any money to the Township, and they will submit. It's a sure thing. Then we'll get the funding for that. So whenever Kevin, Jeff Mills ready and sign off their applications or submit the partner application, right? Is a process how that works.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about that. And the East Miami Road will be, it's a beautiful scenery road. It's a lot of very is developed for the western part of Colerain Township. So that's done. I'm very happy about that. Second thing, like I said, now we're getting close contact with the ODOT. They're really interested in the Colerain Avenue, pretty much reduce their accidents on Colerain Avenue. I met one time before with the ODOT administrators, and I'm going to meet again, building a strategic plan for 19 and 20. We also mentioned about a few meetings ago, they had a plan for the 275 bridge. At the time when they're remodeling, repairing all the stuff, we can talk about putting the nice signage for the Colerain Township sign on the bridge. And there'll be easy access to do it. And also, it's a money-saving project. So thirdly, I'm really excited about the volunteers came September 1st, the last weekend, right?
Yes.
Saturday. And it was a 5 days project. ODOT swept that whole Colerain Avenue with the sweepers. In the nighttime, they closed the road, I think. They did this. It looks pretty good. Still work on all the weeds and everything there on the Colerain Avenue. Something we got to do about the dividers. So that's a long project, and they're very excited about working with the township. So thanks again, and give me opportunity to talk to all these people. And we got a great administration here to work with these people also. Thank you.
We'll be real short. The thing about the water being raised to 1.43, it's and you folks that come out here and stay with us, this is an opportunity where we all need to get together and help on this. Cincinnati City Council is going to make a decision on our water rates. Please feel free to contact all the council members, their offices, and hammer on them that's just an unfair thing to do to bring it up to 1.43. Jeff mentioned there are other water suppliers, and I really love the quality of Cincinnati water, but different municipalities, Milford, Cleves, Harrison, there's a private company called Southwest Water that supplies water up the left side of I-75 and serves General Electric and a bunch of industrial plants along there, and Procter & Gamble. And there are other water resources in this county, and I want to stay with Cincinnati Water Works. I think their quality is unsurpassed, but I don't think we should enter into a deal with them for the rest of my lifetime to pay confiscatory prices for water. And so I would just ask that those of you out there that can do that, contact your Cincinnati City Council and just tell them, out here in the township, we want to be friends with you. We don't want to have you do this because it's just patently unfair to people in the townships. And there are other options, and if they want to see the water rates get so high in the townships that people go to Butler County where they're selling water to Butler County for less than us, that's not going to help Cincinnati at all if people leave the townships. They need people to be closer to the city. My other trustee report item is thanks to those who got together the Eyes of Freedom Memorial. I was given a wonderful opportunity to give a very short address up here last Thursday to welcome the memorial. It's very awesome, very well done. Recognizes 23 the soldiers who from Lima Company that made the ultimate sacrifice in Western Iraq in 2005, and it's a privately funded event. R&L Trucking moves these two displays around the country for them. We were lucky enough here in Colerain to have one. Gee, I wish we wouldn't have got 4 inches of rain over the weekend. But I was there Thursday. I brought my family back up Friday, and it's just some very compelling stuff. And I met a couple guys there. The Marine who had stopped up, who had 2 tours in Western Iraq, and Mr. Hummeldorf, I will say his name, and I was just very impressed with him. So great deal with the Eyes of Freedom Memorial. I hope next time it comes around that more people and better weather gives more people a chance to get out and see it. So just those 2 items, Jeff. So go ahead with your few-minute report.
Just call me Jeff? Whoa.
I mean Greg.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, you heard it. Anyway,
I'm looking at this big stack of notes here, and I'm like,
no,
whoa.
it's fine. So I need to get through my citizen's address, and then my trustee report will be the shortest report I've ever given. First of all, I want to thank Raj for being so passionate about roads, and he's a great liaison to the county. You've had great success compared to anything I've had working with him, so thank you for that. Keep it up. I didn't quite get what you were saying about the bridge, though. You're saying that they plan on fixing that issue in a future project? Did I get that right?
Yeah, they the bridge around 2019.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Jeff, were you aware of that, just out of curiosity?
I got an email from ODOT.
Yeah, let's look at it, because we have this huge beautification initiative that we really want to hammer home, and that's one of the low-hanging fruit, per se, that we would like to knock out. So if it's already going to be paid for, hey, that's money we can use for something else. I want to commend Dan for his passion for the water and getting you just jumping right into this and looking out for so many people. I mean, this goes so far, it's just, I really appreciate those two for all their help on that. So, a citizen's address here. I had Debbie Craven wanted me to thank everyone for all their hard work on the Eyes of Freedom, and even on Sunday with tons of rain, people still came out and paid their respect. She did have an issue with someone helping break down the setup, which I'll address with her later because I'm not 100% sure on what she's referring to. Nobody showed up to take it down?
Well, I did.
You did? Okay, thank you.
Other than me and 3 other people.
Thank you for stopping up.
Yeah, and I want to thank those 3 other people too. So Chris Henson, I had totally forgotten until now, but I have a raffle donation for you for your event Friday, October 19th, Bunko time. So at least I remember that. So if anybody else wants to donate, I'm sure they would welcome that donation with open arms. Brenda's not here with her sister. I'm sorry, she has a bad neighbor, persistence, networking. Just keep doing what they're doing, and nothing happens as fast as we'd like. And we're certainly pushing the envelope with, or pushing boundaries, I should say, with CAPIUSs. I don't ever recall that being the standard, and we're doing it. So we're doing the maximum that we're able to do. Dusty Rhodes was here. It was funny, I recognized his signature on the sign-in sheet, but I didn't put 2 and 2 together until I saw him. And I appreciate him acknowledging our employees for these agendas. You guys wouldn't believe the time and energy that goes into these agendas. So thank you, staff, for that, and I think it's cool that he recognized you for that as well. Dale was here. Stauf, did I say that correctly, hopefully? Stauf. I see the signs up, so I just want to wish him luck and all of our local candidates, including Kerry Davis, who is also here and running for state rep. Mike Parsons was speaking about Deloche that had passed away. As I mentioned before, I had not heard about that. And 8 times a year, it's sad, but at the same time, I'm proud to live in a community that looks out for the indigent. So there's something to be said for that. I'm glad that we took care of him, and rest his soul. Sharon, unfortunately, has left. She was speaking about the potholes, and congrats to the chief on the arrest back there. I know they've been on top of him big time, and I appreciate the results he's getting back there. So our Royal Heights neighbors are undoubtedly safer. Jeff Brockhouse has since left. I was going to mention the hospital property development is stalled. Last I recall, I was hoping somebody here could give me an update. I'm assuming, Jeff.
As far as I know, it's stalled out.
It's stalled out. There's nothing new to report on that.
It's also in the city of Cincinnati.
Yeah, but a
little bit of it is in Northwest School District, and that could have been. The school could have been put there.
It's an interesting development that will have at least some impact, on the community. So. Tom O'Brien, I was going to ask if Jenna or anyone, people that are less internet savvy, do we have? I don't want to say tech support or phone service, but is the system now is okay as it is? Are we able to have someone in the office to walk somebody step by step over the phone on the internet to make a complaint?
I think Colerain Township is one of the only places that I've ever worked at where the chief administrative office will call you at your house and walk you through how to click through a website.
Perfect.
And I did that.
Jenna was working that out with Tom.
Perfect. Yeah, that's right. I did see them meet out there.
I did that personally.
Perfect. It just, I think, with the people that just aren't as familiar with the internet, just repetition. Once you do it a few times, you get used to it. Linda was speaking about the sidewalks. I'm going to have her back on that tenfold. So by all means, if you need some support on getting sidewalks in other parts of the community, I'm all about that. We had some more discussion on 55 and up for the senior income place. Some of the comments I saw in there were crazy. I mean, what if a 55-year-old marries an 18-year-old? I don't know. I guess they're really lucky. I mean, I don't know what that means. So, I trust that CMHA has looked into these. Dan, don't get any ideas. But no, I don't know. I'm assuming there are some crazy scenarios that not everyone here is presented an answer with, but we'll figure it out. Either way, I was told point blank, and I do believe that you cannot have your kids or grandkids there, or great grandkids. So we'll cross that bridge if we get there. But I wanted to address something that Keith said. Unfortunately, he's not here either. Just because we have employees that were hired by a previous administration doesn't mean they're bad. I had every chance and every opportunity in the world with the changing of the guard, getting new trustees, to truthfully get rid of whoever we wanted. And I can honestly say that everyone is here because we want them here. And everyone is here because they want to be here. So, I'm sorry that some people are essentially guilty by association, but I support our employees tenfold, and I know that that my other two trustees do as well. And believe me, if we didn't want them here, we had every chance in the world with a new board to get rid of who we wanted. So I'm glad they're here. I hope they stay, and I hope they continue to do a great job. Kathy, thank you for your input. Stephanie, I would also be honored to have Matt Teetsort on our committee on the Pleasant Run one that only one person had applied for and wasn't eligible. I would be totally honored to have him. I don't remember if I hear Chief saying this, but earlier we had the chamber and all the sponsors sponsored the breakfast this morning, and it was delicious, you guys. I would have saved you some leftovers, but they were too good to save. They honored our Officer of the Year, who is Detective Michael Stockmeyer. I know I heard Chief Denny say that. I didn't hear if he said we had honored Captain Chris Hopkins. Did he say that? Okay.
Chief Cook said that.
Chief Cook, I'm sorry, Chief Cook. I didn't catch that he said that, but I wanted to acknowledge him as well, because apparently he's on vacation with his family. What a great way to celebrate being Firefighter of the Year, or Captain. You get to go on vacation. I want to thank Don Schwaben. Every year, they're phenomenal. Or Donna Schwaben. Sorry if I always pronounce it wrong. Every year for Oktoberfest, they give trustees tickets to come out to their event, which we really appreciate. So thank you for including us in that. And then also I wanted to say to Jason at Waycross, thank you for years of dedication. Jason's moving overseas, and he's been an integral part of Waycross in our community and filming events and the production value and all that. So Jason, you give me that little thumbs up. We're going to miss you, man. Now go back there and cry, and we'll talk later. But good. He's a great man with a great heart, and I hope that whoever is replacing you does half as good of a job as you. So thank you for that, Jason. Now, there's the two thumbs down. Now I get to do my actual trustee report. So typically I have like the world's longest trustee reports, very thorough, and today I kind of wanted to focus on, I don't know, for lack of a better term, quality versus quantity. So hopefully this resonates with everyone. I was tagged online. Our friends in Northbrook did a great job of, they always keep me in the loop, which I really appreciate, and they tagged me in a post. We have a township resident in Northbrook. May 5th, the kid's name was Brody. He was a very normal 2-year-old boy. His parents, Todd and Shiloh Allen, took him to the hospital for dizziness. The doctor referred them to Children's Hospital for what they thought was an inner ear infection. Instead, he was diagnosed with a very rare brain cancer. He was only given 2 months to live, and that was a month ago. The kid has no idea how sick he is, and the parents say that he doesn't care. He just wants to have fun and enjoy every minute, like any 4 or 5-year-old would want to. Because of Brody's short time that's left with us, he's 2-year-old. Well, he's 2 when it was found out, but I thought he was a little older than that now. No?
Something around that age.
Forgive me. It's a news story, and I just got it myself, so forgive me if I didn't get all the details 100% on that. But the one thing I do know is that his parents would like to move up Christmas, and they want to do something big for him. Brody's dad had said that if you have any old yard blow-ups or lights or decorations, your donation would be much appreciated. And also, I thought this was really cool for such a young kid. He loves mail. And his dad said, he loves it. And I guess the kid, he thinks that junk mail is a special gift sent to him. So if you are inclined, if you could please send him a card or a Christmas card or a letter, apparently it brightens his day. His dad also said, as always, please keep praying, and thank you, everyone, for everything. So all my friends out there, if you would please, if you can, send a Christmas card, simple as that is, to Brody Allen at 9696 Adair Court. That's spelled Adair, Cincinnati, Ohio 45251. Tonight, after the meeting, I guess I get to play Santa for a little bit. I'm gonna go drop off some gifts, and it's tough to put it into words, we passed out a card earlier for everyone to sign. If you got a chance to, please sign it. And just also the family has set up a GoFundMe page. So if you're able to donate, I'm sure they'd appreciate it. So that explains why I'm wearing a Christmas suit in September. If you want to judge a book by its cover, too late, because I'm sure you were thinking it. But we're going to do some great things for a great kid and a great family and a great neighborhood, and that's what community is all about. So thank you for listening.
Greg, that's a wonderful thing you're doing for the kid.
Yeah, thank you, Greg.
Least I could do.
Our next item is citizens' address. Does anyone have any questions about anything that was discussed this evening? Could you please approach the microphone?
Oh, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. Everybody get a chance to sign this? It sits here?
I didn't.
Okay, we'll pass it down here.
I just have one question. What part of Pleasant Run Farms is in Colerain Township?
There's a neighborhood called Pleasant Run, and that's what we're talking about. So there was an error that was made where the word farm was added after Pleasant Run.
Okay, because if you'd have just said there was an error, that would have explained it all, because there's no part of the farms in Colerain.
I feel like, okay.
Okay? It's all on the other side in Springfield Township.
That's correct.
Thank you. Was there anyone else that had any questions about anything that was discussed this evening? Heather, there's it.
Sorry, I'm sorry Chief Denny left, and I thought he would mention it in his report, but I want to thank him, the whole Colerain Police Department. I know Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, FBI, DEA, ATF, for the huge bust on Brem.
Yes, amen.
I was driving home at 11:30 that night, on that Monday night, after a very long day, and saw a huge commotion, didn't know what it was, and found out the next day that they raided that house and got rid of all of those guns and all that stolen construction. So I am eternally grateful to our police department and all the other agencies involved. So I just want to say thank you. I talked to him, but I just want to say it publicly because he didn't talk about it, and it's an amazing bust. So
Yeah, we're just sorry that the neighbors had to deal with this as long as they did, because this was an ongoing thing, and as you're well aware, but yes, we'll certainly pay that forward for sure.
Thank you. Did anyone else have any questions about anything that was on the agenda this evening? Or not on the agenda, just whatever your question.
It's on the agenda. You were talking about the water rates.
Yes, sir.
Who are the other resources? I mean, where else can we get water
Well,
from?
we could combine as a water district and hopefully buy water bulk. There's different things to explore, and that's why we desire to establish a committee to look at those different things. But as I mentioned, I want to say there's 16 different water providers in Hamilton County, City of Harrison, different places.
Would that require more infrastructure?
That's the very beginning ground floor of looking into it. So,
And
yes, it
regarding
would require some infrastructure, but at some point, when you raise the water cost in Colerain Township 18%, you got to start. It never hurts to look into it. So,
And this question is sort of directed at Raj. You were talking about ODOT was going to redo East Miami River Road from Blue Rock to Harrison.
Yes, sir.
Okay, why are they not going the other direction towards Heritage Park? Because that part of the road is just as bad as the other end down by Harrison.
I'll talk to Ted Hubbard tomorrow.
And I
I
noticed
don't know,
that-
the whole plan is, I don't know how they make the application. Probably it could include. My goal is the East Miami River Road.
Okay.
Okay, and
Well, that's on the other end of Blue Rock.
might have a
going
lower-
that
It's so big, you would have to do it in sections.
Well,
I'm assuming it's a phase.
they might have a lower point value also.
Oh, that's true.
Maybe that section of it's while they're both in bad condition, maybe that section's worse, so that steps it up. I don't know. Raj is going to look into it, it sounds like.
I'll look into it. What they do is an application process. They do section by section. It's a federal funding, and that's what they get the grant. You cannot get so much money in one time. They break it down by yearly. The best person to ask is Fred Slim. He's the one coordinator. I'll talk to both Ted Hubbard and Fred Slim tomorrow.
Okay.
Gary.
Okay.
All right.
That's the
But
part.
My goal is the whole East Miami River Road.
That's part of East Miami River Road where the big bend is right there in that area, along that area. And it's eroding away the bank. And they've,
Yeah, it's horrible.
the county at once upon a time put in pillars all along there. And it's, the ground is
Yeah, even the pillars are
eroding
getting
away.
yeah.
The pillars are now all exposed, and the county is beginning to backfill every chance they get. Wherever projects near that area, they come and backfill all that again. But that's why I was asking, because the road is, even though the county patches the road with blacktop in large sections, those large sections in the last year have cracked and are sagging towards the embankment.
Yes.
So that's why I was wondering. But
Thank you.
it's a future project.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Was there any other questions for tonight? Hi, Stephanie.
Oh, hi. Will the public be able to attend the land use committee meetings?
We'll let Jeff answer that.
I'd have to look at the bylaws. It says in the bylaws.
question.
When is the first meeting of that scheduled? I believe Jenna said.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
At the end of this month.
Okay. And then the July 24th minutes are not online.
Yep.
And then who is going to be representing us legally wise in this water issue?
We
County prosecutor, isn't it?
Prosecutor. Actually, the township joined with the county. The county prosecutor, her name is Pam Sears. She's our lawyer.
Okay.
Okay, she represents us. Okay, and she's the one represented the last hearing where the judge put temporary injection, and tomorrow is for the permanent injection, right?
It's a
Here, the authorization to have the initiative to have the talk about, yeah. Then after that, the judge will act on that.
Okay, so it's not handled by our legal counsel. It's handled by
Pam
Hamilton
Sears
County.
The county is the one filing the.
Okay.
Can I ask how she's paid? Because if she's representing the townships,
she's representing Hamilton County because Hamilton County is party to the contract, and so what we're doing, our role is we're filing a motion saying, "Hey, county, we agree with you." So that's what we're going to be doing.
Okay. When is the next meeting on that the public would be able to attend?
There's a hearing at the courthouse tomorrow, I think at 2:00 in Judge Ruhlman's courtroom.
Do they take public input at that time as well?
I'm not sure.
No.
It's a court case.
Okay. And I want to say no one has mentioned Chris Green, resident of Colerain Township, who really worked his tail end off on the Eyes of Freedom, and I just wanted to give a shout out to him.
And great, and we appreciate that, and I did give a blanket thanks to everybody who got it together.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Was there any other questions? Well, could you approach the microphone, please? And let's let her go first.
Hi, guys. Lauren
Hello.
McMullen. Just wanted to thank your wife for donating the trophies for our fishing derby last weekend. It was an amazing event and so well attended. 72 kids registered, and every single kid caught a fish, and it was just a great event. We have
if you like the snow cones, you got to give them a shout out. That was cool. You guys did that for them.
That was local businesses that donated the money.
Yeah.
And off the top of my head, I would do a disjustice because I'd forget them. We have a community meeting Monday, and at that meeting, we're hopeful that Birdie's dad is going to attend, so everyone can meet them a little bit. We have a lot that we're planning to help honor his little life. We are also accepting donations at our meeting as well. So if you don't want to donate to GoFundMe, you can come to our meeting and do it there. And I had something else I wanted to say. Can't remember what it is.
And just if you could state where the meeting is so anybody in the room would know.
That's cool. But thank you.
Where's it at, please?
That's good. We had lunch with Lori. I introduced a person named Cynthia. She's the one built that farmer's market in the Friendly Market, if you ever gone there. And some other, she built the north side. I helped them. And we got a great discussions how they can build the North Brook. So she come up with a lot of great points. I think it's going to happen.
we can't wait. The farmer's market is right in my alley. You can come shopping in my backyard.
I've had your salsa. It's good.
And also, she told me connect with some person in Columbus who may get funding for that. So
That would be awesome. But thank you, guys.
Thank you. Please approach the mic. Hi.
I may have missed it. Did Mr. Schwarzkopf mention anything about the cleanup day? Isn't that coming up this month?
Mentioned recycling day.
Yep.
Recycling day.
September 29th.
Yes, I think that needs to have a little publicity because it'll be before your next meeting.
Right, yeah, he mentioned it.
I've posted all over the internet, and I believe Circle, it went out through there.
And Kevin did mention it tonight.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Thank you.
Keep us honest.
Just for the record, could you state your name for me?
Marlon Ford.
Marlon Ford.
It's Marlon, Marlyn, last name Ford, F-O-R-D.
Was there any other questions this evening?
Can you tell me what the premise is on the water? Is it just arbitrary and capricious they're arguing, or what is their legal stance? I know there's a 2% limit. They're not allowed to charge us more than 2% than what they charge their own residents. I know they're not allowed to profit off the water being sold to other jurisdictions. I just was curious what the legal premise of
I'm going to jump in, Larry, and say House Bill 602 is in the Ohio House of Representatives, and it specifically has to do with if a municipality is charging at a certain rate to somebody downstream that they supply, House Bill 602 would take away other funds that they get to build their water network. So there's a resolution coming at the state level, but this is something that really needs to move along pretty quick.
Is that true, Larry?
It's in your Township magazine.
So you're fired. Legal advice from Dan from now on.
Well, that is true,
Yeah.
but
See, I told you.
the argument for tomorrow is that the contract between Hamilton County and the city of Cincinnati required there to be a task force to get together to bargain in good faith as to what the next rate would be. The city of Cincinnati just arbitrarily raised the rates without creating the task force, and the county is asking for an injunction saying you cannot raise the rates until we have this task force.
I understand all
And
that. If
Carrie,
we could get that brief on the online, I'd like to read it.
And I would say that a little more knowledge is that I think Amy Murray and Christopher Smitherman and somebody else voted against raising it.
Councilman
So,
Pastor.
Councilman Pastor. The other six, if you have a few minutes to make a few phone calls, you go after the other six and tell them.
Do you all remember when the city of Cincinnati tried to create, privatize waterworks? Back when Rager was the director of it, and he's a very brilliant man. Me and him went toe to toe, like me and you have. But anyway,
we've always gotten along just fine.
I know. Some people you can do that. Other people get mad when you fight with them. But Rager's pretty awesome. But I whooped him. I will have you know. But anyway, he led the effort to privatize the waterworks so that they could raise our rates. And I'm glad to hear that he's on our side because the man knows what he's talking about. So I think that when I read that in there, I thought, oh, we're in good hands because he knows all,
Please feel free to pick up the phone and call those other six and let them know what you think. So,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. But if it could go online, if somebody could link that, so
I think it's
could read over it.
the clerk of court's website typically has all the court filings.
Yeah, it does, but that's a lot to search. If you just link it for me, but it's okay if you're too busy. I'm busy too.
No,
One
it's
other
not
thing-
that. It's just,
Yeah,
can you look, you know all those people down there, Jeff Wexbach, can you figure it out?
There you go.
I mean, that's an important township issue, and if we could put some information out there, there's a way we could put some information on our website that what's going on, that would probably be good.
And I wanted you to know that I talked to the Southwest Regional Director for the Ohio EPA yesterday when I was trying to find solutions for people for all these different problems they were talking about. And she said that most communities are not prepared for this climate change. and that people really need to step up on the stormwater issue, because the more development we got, that people just did not see the ramifications coming. And so I just wanted to caution you all that some of these problems we're having now is a vision of what is going to be our norm, according to my conversation with her. And we have to look at our stormwater situation.
Right, and I know a lot of different municipalities require pervious surface ratio reports before you build, and different things. And in Cincinnati, if you build more than 800 square feet of pavement, you have to get a stormwater plan, and so a lot of that's in place
Well,
already.
We've been granting waivers. Stone Creek, we gave them a waiver, screwed ourselves on that. Groesbeck Park, that was part of my big fight when I got that park back, was that we gave them waivers. Our township, gave them waivers on that kind of thing. So we got to be really careful about what we're waiving, because we're becoming concrete Colerain, and it's not going to work.
All right. Was there anybody else had any questions for this evening? Hearing none, our next item is executive session. I do not believe we need one. And so that would bring us to the conclusion of the meeting. Is there a motion for adjournment?
I'll make the motion.
And I will second it. It's been moved and seconded, and Larry seems to think we don't need to have discussion on that.
We're not allowed to?
No.
Really?
Well, what if somebody
Thank
didn't
you all
wanna-
for coming. That's my 2 cents on the discussion.
I'll ask Heather. I don't have any discussion for this evening, but I have my Robert's Rules of
boy,
Order
here we
here,
go.
and I'm going to look into it. So, would you please call for a vote for adjournment, Heather?
Mr. Inscoe?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal? Aye. Mr. Unger?
Aye, and this meeting is adjourned at 10:29 p.m.
Thank you for coming. Is it?